OG has a great Reinhardt when he's on point.
Tell me your Brigitte secrets, Mickey. Reveal them to me.
Has he just been smashing you in rank? Is that what it is?
Not on the same.
Woo. Woo, starting out spicy, are we? Starting out spicy, Unco, eh?
Same page, which is obviously not what we're used to seeing.
Teabagging the
Boston, given
Valiant
their
spray.
performance in stage 3. And
Okay. Harry Hook, Taimo, Unco, Seagull high ground, Mickey forward. Where's OG? OG's at main choke fire striking? Yeah, so OG's just throwing a jump fire strike for some early charge. Does he get anything? 1. Okay, so he hits Kalios for the early fire strike.
with exact
And Mistakes is running... Or sorry, Boston Uprising is running...
Mickey over on the Brigitte.
Anti-dive on attack. It's not really anti-dive. They don't have junk. So double sniper with the Roadhog. That's an interesting choice. Now, in terms of compositions here, I've actually become less and less impressed with the Orisa Roadhog composition. The teams that I was working with during the Season 9 meta, even some of those, some of the better teams, the smarter teams, were running Orisa Diva based, even when Orisa Roadhog was so popular. Now, when you're thinking about tank compositions or anything like this, when you think Rein, you think Zarya. When you think Winston, you think Diva. When you think Orisa, you think Roadhog. These are the 3 classic pairings that you see in ranked, because everybody knows they work well together and they have great synergy together. And words are hard. You know, the Reinhardt can manage his aggression and be more aggressive with Zarya's bubbles. Diva can defense matrix, and her mobility allows her to assist with the Winston. And then the Orisa's pull allows for easy hooks for the Roadhog, and the supercharger plus the whole hog gets a lot of damage if you need to do shield break, or you've got a whole bunch of CC as well. So those are kind of like the 3 traditional tank pairings. But even in Season 9, I was starting to lean more and more and more towards Orisa Diva instead of Orisa Roadhog. Now, one of the main reasons that people run Roadhog is for shield break, as well as the halt hook combos. That combo is good. That combo is really good. And it can pull people off high ground, and it can do that, but it's a pretty... there are 2 very large cooldowns that get used for that hook. And you've got both of your tanks working towards that, and if you do pull it off, it's a win condition. Like, congratulations, you've got a win condition. However, especially when you're seeing these compositions coupled with snipers, you have too many different possible win conditions, because Boston is basically playing a pick comp here, right? Either Mistakes is going to get a pick, Striker is going to get a pick, Gamsu and Kalios are going to come together for the halt hook combo and get a pick. Zenyatta is going to right-click somebody and get a pick. That's how they're going to win, right? They're going to set up, they're going to take space, they're going to maneuver, try and corral the opponent, and set things up so that it is easier for them to individually, or in Gamsu and Kalios' case, come together and frag. That's kind of their win condition here. But 2 things. First off is that how much Diva actually does contribute to shield break. And this is something that was actually explained to me by Midnight from XL2, is that if you're within Diva's fall-off range, which is 10 meters, Diva actually does a very surprising amount of shield break, to the point where it actually comes close to rivaling Roadhog, especially if we're talking not having to reload. Diva doesn't have to reload, right? So over the course of an Orisa barrier, if the Diva is only shooting it before micro missiles, it does 660 damage to that shield. 660 damage from Diva alone. Add micro missiles for an extra 150, and you're looking at pretty much 800 damage from Orisa onto Orisa barrier during its course of its life. So Diva still pretty good at shield break, just at a much closer range, because one of the Diva's main weaknesses is going to be the spread, and that doesn't come into play against an Orisa barrier. And the other thing about Diva is, even though you're still kind of fulfilling the role of shield break, you can also assist your Orisa with keeping her shield alive. So Diva slightly less effective at shield break, but much, 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 much more effective at keeping, if Kalios was Diva, keeping Gamsu's shield alive. And against a double sniper comp, or against snipers just in general, this can be extremely critical because Striker has a massive crit box. So not only can you use the defense matrix to make sure that you actually keep Gamsu's shield alive early, so Gamsu places a shield, Kalios defense matrix that shield, defense matrix runs out, you contribute to shield break, and then once Gamsu's shield does go down, either he has another one, or Kalios will have regenerated some of his defense matrix to kind of fill the gaps between the next shield. So I think Diva is actually a pretty significant and decent replacement for Roadhog in the vast majority of Orisa compositions. On top of that, you can use your Diva to peel for your snipers, as well as defense matrix your Mercy if she's going for a resurrect. She has a lot more utility and a better ultimate. So this is a really long way to say I'm going to be interested to see what and why Kalios is running Roadhog here, because it doesn't seem effective, especially against Brigitte. Brigitte is a very, very strong counter to Roadhog. Not only because you've got the stun, which can cancel the ult, but you've got the knockback, which can make him miss hooks. But against armor, Roadhog's damage is reduced somewhere between 41 and 50%, which is extremely significant. Like playing Roadhog against Brigitte makes you feel like you're just throwing confetti at people. It's terrible. So, yeah, I don't like the Roadhog pick. That's what I'm talking about. I don't like the Roadhog pick. Dallas Fuel running Mickey on the Brigitte, OGE on the Reinhardt, Seagull on the Diva. Now, not a Zarya, so AKM's not in. I have been liking AKM Zarya here. Tymo is on McCree. Not Widow. So, not Widow. I guess I get... okay. It's going to be interesting. Unco's on the Zenyatta, Harry Hook is on the Mercy. Would I even want Widowmaker here? Blizzard World does have some pretty interesting sightlines on it. Now, this is kind of like your general Season 10 comp, except for the fact that they've got a Diva instead of a Zarya, and then they have a McCree instead of a Widowmaker or a Hanzo. Now, in terms of talking about how these two compositions face off against each other, is that Gamsu and Kalios coming together have a much stronger frontline support between one another. They have more shields and more damage. So if they take an area, they can hold it pretty well. You know, Aim God, Kellex, and whatnot helping out with that mainline core means that Boston Uprising is going to be able to control positioning pretty easily, but Boston is going to be able to control sightlines. So Mistakes and Striker, if they're setting up crossfires or being in different locations, especially with Kalios playing with Gamsu, I don't think there's any real reason for Mistakes to play on the exact same sightlines as Kalios, and I'd like to see Mistakes and Striker setting up a crossfire where you have this four-man core with Kellex, Aim God, Kalios, and Gamsu, and then like Mistakes. Striker can be a lot farther away and get away with it because he can be supported by Aim God, but and less in this meta, but more in the Season 10 1.24 patch meta. Kellex wants to be applying his damage boost to the Hanzo almost exclusively. Now, the Dallas Fuel here, OGE is going to be good for maneuvering, so mobile shields, but he needs to do it quicker and get value out of it. Now, in terms of shield break, without the Diva here from the Boston Uprising, I think Dallas Fuel can overwhelm Gamsu. But the problem is that in terms of like the sightlines, Tymo really is going to be quite poor against contesting Striker and Mistakes here, in the fact that if they're outside of the fall-off range, Striker and Mistakes have a gigantic advantage against Tymo. So he's not going to be able to enter into these duels against Striker and Mistakes, at least not at an advantage. And Unco and Harry Hook are going to have to be very, very careful with their positioning that they don't get crushed by the crossfire that's going to be set up by Mistakes and Striker. So I'd like the Dallas Fuel to play careful and then decisive into taking out the Boston Uprising here.
Seagull taking up the Diva duties, and Taimu going back to the McCree. So they're trying to move in right now. Kalios wants to get a pick. They are going to run a halt hook combo composition.
Yep, looking for those picks to try to get the lopsided fight in their favor on the point. See if they can. Taimu's been...
So you can play there, like you can see the Dallas Fuel is playing a lot closer into these like little stable, I guess. I don't know what the call out for this area is.
Looking pretty good on the McCree lately, which makes sense.
Unco's in the
One of his best
open.
heroes for a long time.
The Diva, again, benefit of having Seagull is that Unco should survive this.
Ooh, Uncle
Doesn't.
grabbed.
But res.
Nice pick by Kalios. Really kind of just a surprising flank.
So Mistakes is on the left. I assume Striker is Griffin.
I think that they were able to get that off.
Where is Striker?
Cost-
Striker,
Harry
Striker,
Hook is-
Striker, Striker, Striker.
Res right off the bat.
And
Oh, no, no. Oh, do you guys see where Striker is? Do you guys see? Do you guys see where Striker ended up? Striker's at fucking Arches. Striker's at Arches. Okay. Now this is what I was talking about, right? Let's get right into this. This is exactly what Dallas Fuel needed to be fucking aware of. Now this was, this is why I really didn't like Dallas Fuel's composition, is because they have no way to contest Striker or Mistakes. That's the end of the statement. They have no way to contest either of them. So here we have this composition. Let's move the payload out of the way. Okay, so we've got Blue Team Reinhardt, which is OGE. We've got Blue Team Diva. Where are you, Diva? I always can't find Diva on this fucking thing. And then we've got Taimo. And then we have Unco and Harry Hook. And who am I missing? Mickey on the Brigitte. Okay, so that's Dallas Fuel's composition. And then for the Boston Uprising, we have... Who do we have? Where are you? There's Widowmaker. And Hanzo is right here. And then we've got a Narissa and a Roadhog and a Zenyatta and a Mercy. Okay, so you guys start here. And then you're here and you're here. And then we start over here. So I assume we're just going to start in this location. We're all going to start here. So this is the initial location. Partial rotation to here. And then Unco gets hooked. But then we're going to rotate to the side here. And then final positions, rotate all the way around, like this. So this is kind of how it plays out. Yeah. So Roadhog looks for the flank on the right side, and then we're moving around the left. So these are the positions that we've ended up with in this location. So we've got, this is kind of the layout we have with this initial setup. And this is what I was worried about with the part about Striker here. Now, I was actually expecting Striker, instead of being in this location, to be in this location. This is where I would have expected Striker to be in. Now, being back here, now, okay, so there's the first thing that we have to look at is Striker, being in Arches or on Griffin. Now, if we look at Arches, let's take a quick look at the sightlines available to both locations. Okay, so settings, presets, map testing, okay. Okay, start on attack. Here we go.
Welcome to Blizzard World.
Spider Widow,
One shot.
Spider Widow.
One kill.
Okay, so look at this. Look at these sightlines right here, right? So these sightlines are really good. Look at this sightline right back at their retreat route, as well as you can shoot through stables onto the point itself, as well as you have this fantastic grapple option. I really like this position. This position seems fine. As well as if you need to find better angles onto the point, you can actually drop and use this for cover here. But Mistakes flanks all the way around. Sorry, Striker flanks all the way and uses this position. Now, I don't like this location here. Because if we're looking at the positioning of where I would expect Taimo, Unco, and Harry Hook to be located, this is putting them within engagement range of Striker. So it's Striker on the Widowmaker right now. So that both Unco and Taimo can kind of contest Striker here at an advantage. Whereas if Striker was here instead, this would give him a much better sightline and make Taimo's McCree a lot less useful. On top of this, what you're going to be wanting to do with this sort of composition when you can control the sightlines on the double sniper composition is that you want to set up as dramatic but safe horseshoe. You want to like corral the opponent, right? So we've done this really good job. We have this 4-unit core from the Boston Uprising. And yes, we had the Roadhog on the right here to get the initial pick. He got it, but it got rezzed even though it got into defense matrix. Like, yes, fine, worthless. No point to it. No point at all because this sightline and this flank is going to already be contested by Striker. The really only thing that they got out here was burning Harry Hook's res. So I guess that's a good thing at some point. However, we've got this 4-man core here. Now, the two things that I don't like about the Boston Uprising setup here is that the fact that Striker went to arches. Why? It's a longer flank, provides him worse sightlines, and more danger to Taimo's McCree. The other thing I don't like is Striker's Hanzo here. So you can see that Striker's positioned at boxes, and maybe he just hasn't committed to the flank yet. But I'd like to see him open up, either going on the high ground behind him to get a little bit better of an angle over top of OGE's shield, which would force OGE backwards to try and protect Taimo, again giving the ability for the Boston Uprising to take more space. Or you want to flank a little bit to the left side and get onto this high ground where he can be uncontested and still have the lunge to retreat to his team. So if Boston had done this correctly, what they could have ended up with is the 4-man core here, Striker either controlling this space or this space, and then Striker controlling this space here. Overall, for a space control of this, we've got this horseshoe pattern, which is what you're kind of looking for in the double sniper composition. With Taimo's inability to duel either sniper across sightlines, it forces them to retreat back into safer locations. The tank lineup has to back up to retreat, and they could, even if they don't get kills, threaten far enough, unless Dallas Fuel takes action, off the point and, you know, picks if they try and re-engage. It puts them at a significant disadvantage. With this composition, Boston should be dictating the positions and the sightlines at every point during this match. Every single point. Boston should just be dancing Dallas like a puppet on a string. So I don't like Striker going to arches. I think it takes too much pressure on him. If Striker doesn't try and open up the angles, then I think this is going to put Boston at a weakness, and I think that Dallas is going to be probably wanting to engage pretty quick here.
Striker's going all the way around the backside of the Dallas formation right now, looking for angle.
Kalios, DMX, Seagull, and Striker does get Unco.
And he's going to get Unco.
And Harry.
That's a great angle. Gets both supports, in fact. Wow, aim got down, but it's really all Boston Uprising on the point right now. Just Taimu left standing. Miki kind of hanging out. He's out of there. And
so Striker ended up getting 3. This was not scouted, this position from Striker?
They are going to run a halt hook combo composition.
Yep, looking
if you lose track of Widow and she just appears on a flank, she can do a lot of
for
work
those
here.
picks to try to get the lopsided fight in their favor on the point. See if they can. Taimu's been looking pretty good on the McCree lately, which makes sense. It was one of his best deals for a long time. Ooh, Uncle grabbed.
There's
Nice
the hook.
pick by
That'll get rid of res.
Really kind of just a surprise.
Going to the left side, OG is a little bit more in the open than I would like. They have to engage very decisively if they're going to win against this composition before they end up getting corralled.
Rising flank that they were able to get that off. It cost Harry Hook his res right off the bat.
And
So their OG is moving in. Kellex is safe enough.
Striker's going all the way around the
Taimo gets... Oh, so Taimo actually... So what happens here is Striker moves up here, but then in the next engagement, basically, they try and push in. So let's go to the next step. The next step is that we kind of pull back here. Striker open things up. Ryan moves in. Diva moves in. Brigitte moves in. But then McCree also moves significantly in. And when they move up this close, I think this is the error from Dallas here, is that they moved themselves into the open in the same place here. So with Dallas moving to this location, this does open up to give Striker really good sightlines. Striker would still have fantastic sightlines in this location onto exactly this location, right? So if we're talking about the positioning that... so look at these sight lines. So this sight line here, whoop, whoop. So yeah, this sight line right here, you would still have pretty good shots onto that backline. But instead, Striker takes this location, and because McCree and the two supports move up, easy shots, and now that they've moved outside of where they can actually contest them, this flank from Striker does actually pay off, even though I don't think it was a very safe setup.
Backside of the Dallas formation right now, looking for angles, and he's going to get Unco.
Gets a great angle, gets both supports, in fact.
Mistakes. Mistakes is on the Hanzo.
Wow, aim got down, but it's really all Boston Uprising on the point right now. Just Taimu left standing. Mickey kind of hanging out. He's out of there, and that's going to be point A, going the way of Boston pretty quick.
Really disciplined play from Boston. Gamsu, Kalios, and Striker were all in different locations on the map. Dallas was distracted by Gamsu on the front line. Kalios gets the hook on the other side, forces the res early, and Striker is already in position to snipe across the point. That is a great attack from Boston.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how that comp is supposed to play out if you execute it properly. So Boston already looking a bit more crisp than they did last week.
And we're taking a look at this right now from Striker's perspective.
Yeah, so here you can see if the supports had been kind of far back here, they cluster, right? They cluster and they allow themselves to be corralled pretty hard here. No scouting on where Striker ended up. Means they weren't even aware Striker was here. Unco dies first, I think, to the body shot.
But what I like about this is that Boston knows they're not going to win.
Yeah, so poor scouting from the Dallas Fuel, or at least awareness of where the hell Striker ended up, as well as just Dallas Fuel, especially in the Los Angeles Gladiators map, really struggled to maintain map control, especially when they were running a composition that just straight up sucks against it. If you're running McCree against a sniper, let alone two of them, you don't have the ability to dictate or control sightlines, because you either lose or you're at a significant disadvantage across those sightlines.
Heads up fight.
So like just Taimo's pick here as McCree is just straight up weaker. There's a little bit better against shield break in even Hanzo would be better. Yeah. I don't like the McCree pick.
6 versus 6 on the point, because the tank line of Dallas Fuel is going to be able to grind it out. So instead they force them out.
I know the score. I don't know the result of each map. Well, I guess it's obvious since it's 3-0. It's either a tie or Dallas wins. But I haven't watched the maps, even though I know the score. Are you sure Dallas knew they were running double sniper? If they don't scout them in advance, which OGE fire straight to the door, then at 15 seconds, your IGL should be able to hit tab and just tell you what the comp is.
Position, and that's where the picks come in. Really well executed.
Okay, so here OGE is low. Where are we positioned? Unco's on the high ground. That's fine but dangerous since you're against double sniper here. Harry Hook is in Valk. They're pushing up. Gamsu is probably going to die here. I don't see any way Gamsu survives.
Valkyrie used by Kelix. Boston tossed a Dragon Strike in there a little bit earlier, and
or you're going to lose Unco and Mickey. That works too.
Kills rolling in for the Uprising. OGE.
Did I see that wrong? What's going on here?
But what I like about this is that Boston knows, because the tank line of Dallas Fuel.
So mistakes on the turret.
So instead they.
Remember what I said about Unco's positioning is fine except against double sniper? He gets punished for it first.
Out of position, and that's where the picks come in. Really.
But Taimo, they should have been able to crit Gamsu pretty hard here because his shield was down and he was rotating. So Taimo and Seagull should have put a lot of damage into Gamsu, especially with Harry Hook on Valkyrie. Like, they lose Discord advantage, which sucks.
Well executed.
And then Mickey drops. But here we go. So Striker takes out Mickey. And where is Striker? Where is Striker? Oh, Striker's in... So let's look at the sightlines for the next map. So Striker is down here. Okay. Yep. So here you can see Boston is actually setting up their crossfire in This is a very, very good crossfire for Boston setup. So you have this sightline here, controlling these angles. Not controlling, but threatening, I guess. Against the Dallas Fuels comp, they are going to control it. And then Striker... Sorry, Mistakes? Fuck, I'm getting the two of them confused. Striker, yeah, so Mistakes was on the Hanzo in this location, which gave him control of a different sightline. So when you have these two snipers, one on the left, one on the right, and your four-man core controlling it, this is how you corral a team. And OG's on the Reinhardt, right? So when we're looking at in terms of like how to actually control space or anything like that, if you're looking at this composition, so we have a Reinhardt here, right? The Reinhardt is holding a shield like this. And then there's an opposing Reinhardt. And then if there's a Widow and a Hanzo behind that shield... Hey, look, it's a smiley face. So if you think about the Widow's angles on this Reinhardt, if you're standing behind... Then this would never happen, right? This would never happen. But if we're looking at the sight lines, the Reinhardt is going to be able to protect this much space, right? Because the Widowmaker can shoot here, and the Hanzo can shoot... here and here. This is the effective safe space that OGE has created. However, if you're looking at the side of things about what happens if you're doing what Boston is doing and what you need to be doing if you're running double sniper, so we have Widow here now and Hanzo here, and on top of that, Hanzo's on the high ground on top of that. High ground. So on top of this, if you now have a Reinhardt like this, the Widowmaker has this sightline, the Hanzo has this sightline, and the safe space that OGE is creating with his Reinhardt is this. So you completely eliminate OGE's ability to control and create space for his team. And when you have this situation like here, but then you have a McCree, a Mercy, and a Zenyatta, these guys can't contest the Hanzo or the Widowmaker at range. McCree has fall off. The Zenyatta might be able to find right click, but Widowmaker and Hanzo both have the ability to one-shot. So you have to use a natural cover that can actually protect you from both Widowmaker and Hanzo at the same time, which is going to be nearly impossible. At least finding a position that is a viable defensive location against double crossfire. But then Reinhardt himself, his shield becomes basically worthless except for as a personal tool to approach somebody into hammer range. So when I'm talking about you need to be cautious and then decisive, you need to keep yourself safe and maneuver what little positions you have available to you before you can hard engage on the core, which is where you're going to have a strength. But Dallas Fuel's composition here is getting completely outclassed because Widowmaker and Hanzo just taking angles and being able to be uncontested on those angles completely reduces OG's worth as a tank. Does that make sense? Are there any questions at this point? Why didn't they swap after the first fight? Old Hanzo, yes, but I don't understand. I'm a Silver Mercy one trick. Taking this question as a serious question. If you are a lower elo Mercy, how can this knowledge help you? First off, this should be paying attention to what the opponent has and what cover protects you from what angles. So a lot of Mercy players either just sit in the open or rely on their tanks for protection, but natural cover is the only cover that you can really truly rely on. And then on top of that, just being able to damage boost a character that can contest or at least to pressure a sniper can go a long ways. So if your damage boost onto McCree turns his damage breakpoint from 3 to 2, or Zenyatta's orbs from 3 to 2, or anything like that, then try and damage boost the target that gives you a damage breakpoint difference against a Widowmaker, and then use natural cover and be aware of the sightlines. What should Ryan do in this case? So Ryan in this case becomes extremely challenging to play. You need to try and zone one of them with your shield and the other with natural cover, and then hard engage on their core. That's how you need to do it. It takes a fuck ton of coordination to do this, though. So, one sniper, cover. Second, your shield. Third step, engage very decisively, or else you're going to lose, because you're in a war against time. Char008 with the Prime sub for 3 months in a row says, "Let's go, dude." Welcome, my friend. Ryan was taken with a huge host for 48 viewers. Thank you for the host, my friend. It's Don't Play with the Prime sub. Benchmob with 200 bits says, "Look at you in Stat Banana." I'm learning, Dave. I'm learning. Look at me. Irakish with Prime for 3 months says, "Jayne bless." And Lord Demo Medic. I keep thinking that says Prime or Tier 1 sub, but it's a 1 viewer host. I appreciate all hosts. 1 viewer, 100 viewers. I appreciate them all. Should OGE put pressure on Orisa or retreat a bit? In this situation, probably put pressure on. Okay. Let's get back to it.
Boston tossed a Dragon Strike in there a little bit earlier, and all of them already...
Orisa retreating here back to cover basically just turns it into a shooting gallery for Striker and Mistakes. Now Dallas has no one to engage on and no way to contest these sightlines.
The kills rolling in for the Uprising. OG, he drops to a scatter arrow. That one kind of hurts. And it looks like that payload isn't going to slow down anytime soon. Oh, it's Battle Mercy coming in with Harry Hook. Can't quite win the boxing match at the end.
And this is one of those times, though, where we need to see a switch. They're not mobile.
I wonder if we're going to make through this series in 4 hours.
Attack that Boston is giving them right now. They have to change either, I suppose, the timing on the Reaper to break up the front line and force the long-range heroes or the pick heroes to actually go to the payload.
So that's the setup here, right? So they needed to engage decisively on the Orisa. Orisa retreats, complete shooting gallery. Now we have a perfect 180-degree crossfire on the Dallas Fuel. They're fucked, even if they didn't get the picks before this point in time.
They can also switch OGE to Winston and start to respond that way because, I mean, these snipers are going to be relatively unprotected from a D.Va and Winston dive.
Oh, Dallas moving in as a unit up on the high ground. Ooh, Kalios trying to predict where the Zen would move. Didn't quite get the hook on Unko like he wanted to. Force out the Transcendence. Dallas, meanwhile, drops onto the payload right now. Self-destruct comes in. Oh, catches 2. Nice Earth Shatter as well coming in from...
Dallas wins. Let's take a look at it again.
In the boxing match at the end.
And this is what
So let's look at the sight lines. Striker moving to Pylon. Mistakes is with Core.
those times, though, where we need to see a switch. They're
Mistakes is looking to get his own angle, though.
To deal with this
Mistakes still with Core. Striker and Mistakes kind of stacking sightlines here. I'd like to see one of them more spread.
Attack that Boston is giving them right
yeah,
now.
Striker and Kalios, or Striker and Mistakes here stacking sightlines. That makes your double sniper comp insanely weak. Never, ever, ever stack sightlines with your snipers. I legitimately yelled at a team. Like, yelled at them mid-scrim. I paused the scrim an hour into it to discuss corralling teams with double sniper. And then they started stacking snipers on Junkertown, and I was just... I don't usually speak up during maps. I like to take notes. I like to observe and then provide feedback using video evidence and discuss it. But I wasn't going to get anything to talk about if they kept stacking their fucking sightlines.
They have to change either, I suppose, the time on the Reaper to break up the front line and force the long-range heroes or the pick heroes to actually go to the payload.
So,
they can also switch
tab out is Mistakes.
To Winston and start to respond that way. Because, I mean, these snipers are going to be relatively unprotected from a D.Va and Winston dive.
Oh.
I do like the way the Striker rotated. So if you saw this is actually really smart. Striker knows that he can't be contested based off of really any like Unko can shoot some orbs at him and, you know, McCree can poke at him, but he has the ability to one-shot either of them. So he can be mildly threatened. You know, you can be as mildly threatened as like your 6-year-old nephew throwing a temper tantrum, but it's about as threatening as if you just like reach out your hand and you place it on his forearm and then he flails madly at you, but you can't hit him. So you just like put your palm on your forehead and be like, no, stay there. So this is pretty much the matchup between the Dallas Fuel and the Boston Uprising across sightlines. So I really like the fact that Stryker kind of... When the fuck did this swap come out? I missed the... What the hell?
So we need to see a switch. They're not...
Okay, so this doesn't really change my point. Even like Reaper is going to have even less of an ability to contest on the sidelines. So like holding your 6-year-old nephew at bay is still an appropriate analogy here. But now I like the Reaper pick a lot more because what did I say was the correct play for Dallas Fuel beating the Boston Uprising? Safer positioning, decisive engagements on the core. With the Reaper, they're going to be able to just demolish Kalios and Gamsu way easier. But I really, really, really like Stryker's rotation here. I think this is worthy of talking about. So when we were talking about Boston's entire idea is controlling map, corralling teams into a single area where they have multiple sightlines on and can just pick them apart.
Attack that Boston is giving them right now. They have to change either, I suppose, the typo on the Reaper to break up the front line and force...
And they have Lucio now. I like it. They don't need the damage boost. They're they've decided that Resurrect is too much of a like. The other thing is that Lucio, people always underestimate the offensive contributions of Lucio in a composition. It's that yes, he provides speed, but he also provides damage and a second support ultimate. But people always underestimate the raw amount of damage that especially pro Lucios can put out. So Dallas Fuel has said, "Fuck this. We can't control positioning, so we're going to take the fight to them." And, ooh, can I leak this? Yeah, I've only seen one team running it. I think that's a scrim strat I can't share.
The long-range heroes or the pick heroes to actually...
Hopefully... What can I share about this without... So the Season 10 meta is Mercy, Zenyatta, Brigitte, Hanzo, Reinhardt, and Zarya. And my statement is going to be on non-linear maps, a variant of that composition with Lucio as part of the triple support crew can provide a counter to the established meta. There. We'll just say that and move on.
Go to the payload. They can also switch OGE to Winston and start to respond that way because, I mean, these snipers are going to be relatively unprotected from a deep...
I don't want to talk about strats because there's only one team that I'm working with at the moment that is working on this strategy, and it's not public. It's kind of cutting edge, and there's a tournament coming up, so I don't want to discuss it too much in detail. I don't want to give away what could potentially be a tournament-winning strategy. So...
and Winston dive.
Oh, Dallas moving in as a unit up on the high ground. Ooh, Kalios trying to predict where the Zen would move. Didn't quite get the hook on Uncle like he wanted to. Force out the Transcendence. Dallas, meanwhile, drops onto the payload right now. Self-destruct comes in. Oh, catches two. Nice Earth Shatter as well. Coming in from OGE for the fight cleanup. Taimu over on the Reaper now. It's going to definitely cause some problems for the tanks.
That's a little pretentious. How else do you want me to phrase that?
Dallas will stabilize here on B, and now a little bit of extra armor from Mickey using that rally to boost everybody up again.
And now they're playing for the cart, so they're ignoring the snipers who are playing at range and just trying to zone them out, potentially with the Zenyatta Unko, keeping an eye on them.
So already Dallas Fuel is looking different. Like, they've got a comp that is much better against the Boston Uprising. Boston Uprising has already swapped. Why? Probably because this composition is just straight up better on Streets phase, and probably also because of the Lucio Reaper switch from the Dallas Fuel. Boston Uprising still running double sniper, though. They've just changed their tank core. Interesting. We'll have to see how Boston runs this. Because this on paper, like, it's very weird because we went from the Boston Uprising being the stronger comp, but still there was a possibility for a stronger comp still, whereas the Dallas Fuel was running a very weak comp comparatively, but now we've swapped and the Dallas Fuel actually has the stronger comp, and it looks like they're playing it way better.
For the most part, those snipers are not a threat if you can take out their tanks and then they just have to snipe into the payload itself.
Yeah, and if you can hold this choke point too, you can do a lot with that. Aim got already down. Mickey claiming a kill. Taimu going really deep. Has to go ahead.
How the fuck did Mickey kill Aim God? What?
Keeping an eye on them. But for the most part, those snipers are not a threat if you can take out their tanks and then they just have to snipe into the payload itself.
Yeah, and if you can hold
Oh, Aim God separated. That was a mistake from Aim God.
this choke point too, you can do a lot with that. Aim got already down. Mickey claiming a kill. Taimu going really deep. Has to go ahead and Wraith form his way out of that one. But that's the nice thing about Reaper. You can always just float away if things get a little bit too intense.
And that he will do. Nice delay here from the Dallas Fuel after a rather miserable first defense.
OGE down. Dallas has to get aggressive if they want to stop this push. They do. Seagull with 2 kills on the back of some damage from Taimu's Reaper again. And now he's got the Death Blossom ready to go.
It's like 3 times in a row that Boston Uprising has rotated to the right, or the left side of the point from their perspective, and they've been punished for it with a speed boost Brigida as well as the either Seagull or Mickey. So Boston, their positioning has gone to crap here.
Oh, that's Reaper's ultimate, by the way. It's called Death Blossom.
It is. And speaking of ultimates, Mistakes' ult was...
I love. Ooh, this is a neat rotation. Who are they going to go for? So they're using Harry Hooks because they still want to, like, when we look at the location that the Dallas Fuel is holding, is this has got to be Arrow. This has got to be something Arrow did. I don't think we ever would have seen this from the old Dallas Fuel. But this is very set, almost, in the fact that they've swapped to this composition, and it's not like one of the things that the Dallas Fuel used to do is switch, but then like not really change their play styles to go along with their character swaps. Whereas here we have not only changed compositions, but we have a dramatically different play style coming up from the Dallas Fuel. And the fact that they're holding in a location that is obviously pre-planned. They're holding in this location despite the cart being significantly behind them. And then they lose OGE, but they also have this rotation. So this could have been like an in-game thing to rotate it, but I feel like this is almost like a set play or a plan. So they're going to rotate behind. Now, Mickey doesn't go with them. This is interesting. So Mickey's here. So they're doing a 3-man flank or 4? Is it Seagull, Taimu, Unco, Harry Hook? Who's over there?
Right there by Seagull.
Yes, it's a 4-man flank.
Ooh,
is this just a juke? Are they doing this to buy time so that OGE can get back and they can hold their location?
You heard the animation go off, or you heard the sound line, but no actual dragons, and now they're going to be pushing back without a dragon strike.
Yo, did we just see some 900 IQ shit?
That's the nice thing about Reaper. You can always just float away if things get a little bit too intense.
That he will do. Nice delay here from the Dallas
OGE drops by getting bursted.
Fuel after a rather
They try and they do punish Kalios, who again, he's the 3rd guy who's rotated to the left side of the choke.
OGE down.
And they get Gamsu and retreat. But not only does Kellex have the res, or not only does OGE have... No, not only does Gamsu have spawn advantage, Kellex also has the res. So Dallas Fuel needs to buy time for OGE to get back so they can keep holding this location.
Stop this push. They do.
Because especially with Boston Uprising running the double sniper comp, they can't let them. The Dallas Fuel cannot let the double snipers corral them. So playing in locations where they can zone both of the snipers out and quickly and decisively engage on the core is exactly what they need to be doing. But they've lost OGE.
Now he's got the Death Blossom.
Dragon gets eaten.
Ready to go.
Is that a swapping ultimate?
It's called Death Blossom.
Is Mistakes going to swap off that ult or no?
It is. And speaking of ultimates, Mistakes is ult.
Okay, so here, and then they flank through the left, and Gamsu immediately retreats, but then Harry Hook's like, jokes, nope.
Heard the animation go off.
Rotate back main,
No actual dragons.
and look who
Now they're
fucking
pushing
shows
back
up. It's
without a
OGE.
dragon strike.
Yeah. I think Reaper wants people
Neat.
to know he's a beautiful flower inside. It's a beautiful.
I could probably make like a full analysis video on that 20 seconds. If anybody wanted to do like a really deep breakdown of any moment, this is... It's pretty cool stuff.
Sensitive.
I'm pretty sure that's what he.
He looks stern, but he's really a big old softy on the inside, right? Unko, not so much a softy as the headshot strike.
Do it.
Back to spawn. And wow, there goes Harry Hook. Mistakes finds a big. Dallas getting aggressive again. They got Kalios with that one. Now Mistakes finding out with Seagull up on the high ground, but he can't stay up there as a diva. It's a bit of a brawl here. They've nearly got Galaxy's down. Aim got as well.
When is the last time the Dallas Fuel made me smile with how well they're playing? This is why Overwatch is fun to watch. This is just a feels good. Especially after Dallas Fuel has failed for so long. This is just a feels good. I'm watching good Overwatch from a team that I'd almost given up on.
G gets him with a charge somehow, and Dallas has put together a great hold here. And on top of all of this, they have the extra armor, and they have 5 ultimates to spare.
Yeah, they have a ton of ults still. Boston is going to have to make this grab Dragon Strike combo work.
I hope Fuel shows up today. Or not Fuel, Arrow. I hope Arrow shows up today. Be cool to see him in chat.
The change over to Kalios was to give more protection and get a charge Zarya up from fighting in the
Interesting.
trenches in the tank war.
Oh,
Now it's
here we go!
Oh my god, he got him!
Oh, gonna have to change his name to Sly Move. Nobody saw that one coming.
wow.
Dallas Fuel, I love you.
Here we go! Gets enough, he gets 3!
No Roadhog, no McCree, no Diva. Good fucking night.
Wow.
Does Harry Hook arrive with the speed boost at the last second? Because I think Harry Hook's speed boost arriving is what causes this play to actually get pulled off.
Oh, here we go! Gets enough, he gets 3!
Maybe not.
Gonna have to change his name to
I thought Harry Hook would have been right there to drop the speed, but fuck, Timo, that was awesome.
That was a great use of that Death Blossom too. They got so much
Boston, what are you doing?
value out of it in terms of pushing more time off the clock. That said, Boston is coming back, and they're coming back with Striker on the Pharah now. And
There's finally a swap. Now, people like the Pharah play is there's not a lot to talk about. Okay? This is almost a downgrade in comp swap. I almost think that this is actually worse against the Dallas Fuel than the Hanzo Widow. I think this is a mistake to make this swap. Yes, the Dallas Fuel doesn't have anything that can directly... still jokes. They have Zenyatta and Diva, which is good enough against a Pharah that isn't being pocketed. And then if Kellex is going to pocket Striker, then the rest of the Dallas Fuel can literally run over the Boston Uprising, and then the Pharah's going to be like, where'd my team go? I've got gold medals. What are you guys doing? You're like, we're being murdered by Reaper. Please help. So this is gonna play the exact same way. They want to basically zone out any of the potential sidelines. Yeah, they'll be taking a lot more chip damage, and they actually have to contest with it, but they're still going to have to play the same way. And now they have dual support ults here. So Boston Uprising, the only real swap here is that with Kalios onto the Zarya, like they have a bit of a weaker tank line, but they do have the Wombo. So now they have 3 team wipe combos. They have a couple team wipe combos. So they've got team wipe combos, but anytime that Boston Uprising isn't using ultimates, they aren't using ultimates to win a fight, they're going to lose.
Because they know there's
Farah or no.
range here from the Dallas Fuel. So the FAR is going to be relatively unchecked, but it's going to come down to the last push or two.
The Earth Shatter, though, may set it up for Dallas. Aim God going, or rather OGE going in deep. That grabbed and
You almost could have saved that sound barrier.
Uprising. Seagull gets the kill on the Kalios.
Nice combo, nerds.
Gamsu surrounded, doesn't know which way to point that shield. And he is going to get taken out. And this is kind of the trouble that Boston has had. They've been struggling executing those big wombo combos that you really need to make work if you're going to excel in this meta.
And here's where the Dallas Fuel also show off their strengths. They may not be the most versatile, but they certainly have unique compositions. And they've been
That's the second ultimate Seagull's eaten this match, right?
practicing them, and you may never have seen them before. And Boston is struggling to adapt in this game. The Farah could have come in earlier, that's for sure. We could have seen a lot of different adaptations, and now we're in the final fight.
Gamsu needs a godly Earth Shatter here if he's going to turn it around, and he's not going to get it as Taimu picks up a kill. Kelix uses the Valkyrie, but his tank is down already. Mickey backs off for a second.
Look at where the payload is. Are you kidding me? Do you see this payload? Oh my god.
Or rather, Taimu backs off for a second. Mickey gets the kill.
That payload has been backing up for over 3 minutes.
On mistakes instead. Kelix with the res there, but now just 7 seconds left. Can Boston even get to the payload? It's moved all the way back so they can probably touch. They're going to go in with Aim God with that Transcendence. Taimu gets a kill on the mistakes anyway. Striker, though, over on the Farah. Maybe a surprise Dallas has a hard time handling. Self-destruct comes up big for Seagull, though. Both tanks down for Boston, so now it's just cleanup for Dallas, and they should have this one. Aim God drops, and that is a fantastic hold, and probably the tightest.
That's, it's interesting to see Boston. They just lost any ability to adapt at all. It's almost like they didn't even understand conceptually why they were losing. Because even their swap, their initial swap was like, okay, I can kind of see where you're going, looking more for the Wombo. But again, they're stacking additional win conditions into their composition and their plans where additional win conditions were not necessary. And then the swap off of Widowmaker and onto Farah weakened them even further against the strategy that the Dallas Fuel was running. So I feel like Boston's ability to, like, Boston is obviously a very well-practiced team. You know, they have great coordination. But in terms of their ability to adapt here, that was lack-fucking-luster.
Play we've seen yet from the Dallas Fuel.
They weren't really challenged, though. Just
not at all.
What Boston.
And I was reading on Reddit that like Dallas Fuel didn't really play that good. It's just Boston that sucked. No. Dallas Fuel played this really well. The first point comp was I mean, like the first point composition, and this is the same comp they ran against Los Angeles Gladiators. So there's obviously something they have in mind that they want this composition to do on this first point, but I haven't seen it work, and I don't see the logic in it. But that second point comp and strat and playstyle was all very, 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 very well executed from the Dallas Fuel.
Could have done. We could have seen the Junkrat earlier to bust them off of the cart after the Reaper swap came in. But they were really stubborn.
What if Striker had swapped to Junkrat? In 1.24, I don't think it would have made a difference. In 1.22, it probably would have helped, yeah.
Not wanting to waste their ultimates, and as clean as that first attack was, as soon as the Reaper came down, they didn't have an answer.
Yeah. That was really impressive from Dallas, actually. That was just
Yeah.
very well executed, very crafty. The way they worked the Reaper into the composition.
Man, if you have the ability to vote for an American coach, I don't know why you wouldn't vote for Arrow.
Death Blossom, then Seagull finishes it off with the self-destruct when the shield's just turning every which way. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, Taimu did end 25 elims, 12 final blows, 3 deaths, and we are going to look at the top.
Before we... My God, how long has it taken me to get through one half of this map? Okay, Direwolf, 237 bits. What's with the weird bit numbers, you guys? Are you sure you want to coach against Arrow in the World Cup? Yes. Yes, I do. Why wouldn't you want to go against the best? Why wouldn't you want to get your ass handed to you despite having put in your best efforts so you can be like, oh boy, how did he fuck me up? But, yeah, man. Good. Yes, that would be awesome. Leap for Mankind, resubscribed tier 1 for 2 months in a row. Dirty Boy Nacho, Prime for 3 months in a row. Payout with the Prime sub. Wasy Please, resubscribed tier 2 for 3 months in a row. Thanks so much for the tier 2 sub, my friend. I appreciate it. Here's to more W's and clicking heads. Cheers, bud. Calvin with the 250 bits says, is it okay to cry movie in a crowded firehouse? What? Thanks for the bits. Jalen with the Prime sub. I appreciate it, my friend.
Down to show how clean Boston's attack was, and then their big struggle after that. Because if you watch here, you're going to watch Striker flank all the way around the outside.
Jayne, wait, are you really coaching for the World Cup US team? No. So what's happened is basically that we're moving into second stage of voting for the World Cup coaches. So give me a second here. So I made it into round 2 of voting for the World Cup committees. So here's my plug. I'll probably do a couple of these throughout the day. But if you go to the URL that I am going to post in chat below, if you are Canadian, you can vote for the community lead position. If you are top 150 players in Canada on either PC, Xbox, or PS4, you can vote for me to coach. So if you click that link, you click the vote, and you don't see my name, it's because you're either not Canadian or not high enough ranked to vote for me. However, everyone can vote for the community lead positions. And if you are Canadian, I would recommend CarQ as the individual to vote for community lead. And if you are American and you have those options, I have no idea which community lead guy you should vote for. But if you have the ability to vote for a coach for the American World Cup team, it's between Arrow and Deepay, in my opinion. But undefeated in contenders, doing fantastic with Dallas Fuel, Arrow would definitely be my vote. So, also, yes, XQC did vote for me. XQC thought, man, when XQC voted for me, he's like, oh, that's why Jayne's been hanging out my channel. He wanted my vote. I was like, wow, rude. 5-month subscriber, what? Been subscribed to his channel for 5 months, hanging out in his chat, and then XQC's like, oh, that's why Jayne hangs out here. I was like, really? Really, XQC? You think so low of me? How dare I enjoy a stream? Oh, man. Whatever. Okay. Yes. Oh, we're looking at a top-down. I thought this was Stat Banana. I was like, I don't remember making this.
Is going to flank as well. So because they know the Dallas Fuel all want to fight together on the...
I know, I didn't take it personally. I love it. XQC, every time I go into that channel, makes fun of me. So does Emong. Actually, everyone makes fun of me. Oh.
Point, they're going to force the res out early. This is a great situation because it's allowing...
Yeah, you can see Striker's flank. So this is actually what I drew on Stat Banana.
Striker to get into position. And now you're going to be dealing... Look how many fronts Dallas has to fight on. They have to collapse...
Yo, that's so cool that it says hook and stun there.
Immediately onto the front line, but then we see Striker just free firing into the back there. Yep. Really good attack from Boston, but the follow-up was abysmal.
Yep. Yeah, very cleanly executed start.
Yeah, so I didn't like Dallas's positioning there at all. So the fact that they kind of all clustered against a double sniper comp, like probably playing here, and if they had been able to scout Griffin, they can play in closer here, but with a Striker moving through arches and no scout, the position should have been at this back corner.
Attack from Boston, but the follow-up was abysmal.
His first time watching the game, yeah.
Yeah, very cleanly executed start for the Boston Uprising. Fell apart after that. Now the Fuel find themselves in a place where they can win this map very easily if they can take point A. It's going to have to be a full hold from Boston, basically, if they're going to want to win this map.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. Maybe if they can at least just drain most of the time off the clock, they might be able to put up some sort of...
What would have that other position changed? The ability for their backline to actually contest that sight line from Widowmaker, because of the fall-off range of McCree would have been enough to win that duel against Striker. With that position from Striker is very risky. If anyone is holding there defensively, he can't get value and even risks death.
Defense on B, but it is
I like OG. He's got good. He's a good main tank player. A Griffin hold. So a Griffin hold like this is going to be dropping off and retreating to point.
Right now,
it's not often that we really need to mention that.
Do you prefer Neko or Aim God? I haven't seen enough Aim God, and I think Neko is severely underrated.
But the point you have to get the payload to is where the farthest point it went to, not where it ended. They would have had to get to where it ended. It would have been right at spawn, basically. That payload moved all the way back.
Coco's
so
not... I think Coco's a lot like Mickey, in that he hasn't quite developed or adapted to the change in playstyles. And the fact that when he was Envious, Coco did a great job like keeping his team together and allowing his superstar DPS to pop off. But now that Tank is much more of a carry role and much more of an aggressive playmaking role, I think Coco has struggled to adapt to that.
Offense is going to switch things up, going for a bit of dive here, actually.
What do you think of the late Harry Butchers? Harry Butchers is one of those guys who I like specifically for his play and not as a person. I like how he plays Reinhardt. I'm a huge fan of the aggressive Reinhardt strat. Some of the things he's said on his stream and on Twitter just makes me want to dissociate the two, between the person and the player. But can't do that, so...
Taimu on the Sombra. This is a throwback to his time spent playing in Korea and Apex for sure.
No, Harry Butcher, not XQC.
Saw a little bit of it in the Overwatch League. And now Seagull returning it to the Genji. They know they're going to have to...
You distracted me. I didn't see the initial rollout.
A throwback to his time spent playing...
Okay, so... Initial rollout. Okay. I should not have done that. Can I undo that? Okay, so we've got you, not you. Yeah, I'll just do that. Fuck it. Okay, delete all frames. So this time we have a diva from the side of Boston. That's me. That's Diva. So we've got Diva, who's located here. We've got Orisa, who's located here. And we have the Zenyatta and the Mercy. And I think we had a Junkrat. Junkrat Widow, yep. One, two, three, four, five, six. And then for the Dallas Fuel, we have Sombra Dive. Nice. Sombra, Genji, Diva, Winston, Zenyatta, Mercy. Okay, so Diva, 1, 2, 3. Is the Widowmaker there as well? I think so. I think it's just 5 people up here, right? So the Mercy it'll be positioned like that. So this is the initial setup for Boston. Bit interesting. And then what is the Dallas Fuel going to be doing here?
In Korea,
are we all together? Where is Sombra?
Apex for sure.
Sombra's cloaking in.
The Overwatch League.
That Diva's in trouble if she gets hacked.
And now Seagull.
If Kalios gets hacked here, and it's...
Returning it to the Genji. They know they're going to have to dive this high ground.
Why wouldn't they just hack and dive Kalios? He's free.
Have to deal with the Orisa Junkrat composition. That means you have to attack the hard point with what they're doing.
Yeah, when you get everybody clumped up in that room, too, the dashes from Genji can do so much.
So they are just... so Sombra's going to point. And then Genji, Winston, Diva, Mercy, Zen, like this. So I think Kalios could have been burned down here. Like, they don't have, like, a really high DPS from, like, a Tracer or something. If this was Tracer Sombra Dive, hacking Kalios would completely destroy him. And they could also, like, do it while retreating to the point. So I think this was an opportunity that was missed. because they move up, and they do manage to actually force them back here. And I'm not sure how they do that successfully against the Junkrat, because the trap should have definitely caused them a lot more pain and agony than it did. So why did they not punish Kalios? And why did they push onto the high ground?
And now Seagull returning it to the Genji. They know they're going to have to dive this high ground. They have to deal with...
Okay, so you can see that Mercy and... So it's the same sort of thing, right? We talked about these sightlines before. I got to go back into it. Create, settings, presets. So in the same way that on Horizon Lunar Colony with New York, how the Mercy and the Zenyatta were actually able to assist the D.Va on the point, it looks like Boston is doing something similar. So if we're talking about Kalios being able to contest the point, I guess if we've seen this exact strategy coming out from New York and Boston, then this is something that's becoming a lot more popular in terms of a common defense amongst multiple teams. So we often see this where strategies kind of develop across teams because they'll do it in scrims and other teams will just replicate it. So somebody came up with this and then other people are just sort of replicating it. But so you saw Mercy and Zen look over to assist Kalios with attacking that Sombra there, and they aren't paying attention to the front here. Now Kalios was located in this location, and I think a hack could have taken him out. So like they could have hacked him and then basically burnt him while moving to point. He wouldn't have had his boosters, he wouldn't have had his defense matrix. It's a bit of an awkward place to actually dive. Would I want to... You know, there's no way you'd be able to actually think about this in the moment. But even when Kalios does retreat to the point, so Kalios himself boosts from there back onto the point. At this point, you definitely want to hack and dive the D.Va, because a hack tank is a viable dive target, especially if it's a D.Va or a Winston. So instead of doing that, Taimo keeps fucking around with Kalios, and then they dive at the high ground here. And how does it work out? So OG goes up and does not get trapped. Okay, interesting. Wonder why there wasn't a trap there. Seagull, OGE, and Seagull, OGE, and Mickey. Mickey's now on the D.Va. Arrive, dash slash. Doesn't finish off mistakes. Retreats. Kalios boosts out.
Now, when you get everybody clumped up in that room, too, the dashes from Genji can do so much work. Meanwhile, Seagull still, or rather, Taimu's still pressuring the point. Mistakes on
huge.
His own. Oh, got blown up in the air. OG.
So it seemed like Boston Uprising had no real intent of rotating here, or else they would have done it a lot earlier, which is fascinating to me.
He finishes it.
That seems like a really dumb strategy.
One tick taken by Dallas already.
Striker takes out Unko.
Striker does get Unko, so Boston striking back here. No pun intended.
The fuck is Striker?
Well, maybe
is he Arches again?
Either way, Dallas.
So Seagull turned to Arches, which makes me think that after Unko died, he gave a call out.
Now, when you get everybody clumped up in that room, too, the dashes from Genji can do so much work. Meanwhile, Seagull still, or rather, Taimu's still pressuring the...
So they punish mistakes for making mistakes.
Mistakes on his own. Oh, got blown up. Do so much work. Meanwhile, Seagull still, or rather, Taimu's still pressuring the point. Mistakes on his...
It's Taimo on the point.
Oh, no, got blown up in the air. OGE finishes him. One tick taken by...
Yes, Unko does get taken out from Arches.
Dallas already.
So Seagull, here's the call out. Yeah, oh, he was white, so he blended into the background. Seagull doesn't pursue, Taimo does, and then Taimo gets fucked up. Rip.
Back here, no pun intended. Well, maybe a little bit intended. Either way, Dallas still trying to push forward here, but it looks like Boston's going to hold in the end. That is 2 ticks taken, though.
They did get the D.Va mech, though, which is huge. If you're going to do anything before you team wipe, getting D.Va mech is massive.
By Dallas, and Seagull doing it again. Finally goes back to Jayne.
It's thigh move.
Happy with this regardless, because
no
OGE
doubt.
and Harry Hook get out. Kalios has been demeched.
Yeah, Kalios getting demeched is absolutely massive here, especially when you're playing Div. Did I really just fucking say Div?
So a lot of their defensive positioning is not going to be effective anymore without that defensive matrix. Striker really saves this one, though.
Yeah, no kidding.
What?
He was trying to be sneaky again, but this time Boston was ready for the sneaky time move, the sly move.
as you like
It's
to call
Thaimu.
Starting now.
As of now.
Because he's thick.
Like, if he can
Get
keep
it?
it up. We'll see. We'll see if he
So
keeps the name.
No?
Valve
Okay.
Dive is going to be effective on the high ground. They want to pop it early.
Yep.
But Timer's just going to pressure it. He actually hacked Kalios.
Oh no, Boston's not even going to contest. What?
He can end
Okay.
this point right here with
They
a
move
couple
on with
kills. He's
Trance.
cutting away into the Trance
I didn't think they
zone.
were
So
going to be able to
they
move
do
on
get Calix,
with
so
any other way
Calix
except for
once again
suiciding, but they had
finds himself
Trance.
in the wrong place at the wrong time and paves the way for Dallas to maybe take this one. Riptire could change it, but it's shot by Seagull out of the air, and that's going to be...
I want there to be something that I'm missing from the Boston Uprising's plan. I apologize. I'm gonna watch it one more time because Boston Uprising, what they're trying to do here, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because it seems like they are extremely committed to Griffin. They have no rotation. They feel like they're gonna full hold without leaving Griffin.
If he can keep it up, we'll see. We'll see if he keeps the name.
Valve Dive is going to be effective on the high ground. They want to pop it early.
Yep.
But Timer's just going to pressure it. He actually hacked Kalios.
I mean, that's so big, man. Here comes the blade. Seagull coming in. He can end this point right here with a couple kills. He's cutting away into the Transcendence, though, so it is tough. They do get Calix, so Calix once again finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time and paves the way for Dallas to maybe take this one. Riptire could change it, but it's shot by Seagull out of the air, and that's going to be point A taken by Dallas for sure.
But Boston's defense strategy doesn't make much more sense there. Dallas Fuel played that really well. I think they could have used hack a little bit earlier to punish Kalios. Like using the hack to punish individuals, trying to prevent them from contesting the point. And compared to what Sol was doing with a lot harder engage, they did do a little bit of a softer engage on the high ground. But I would have liked to see Dallas Fuel play a little bit more around the hack. Now, this is a static defense composition against a Sombra dive composition, so there's not a lot to talk about in terms of positioning here.
2 minutes left on the clock. Goes up to 4.5 now for them to push into point B. Swaps changing coming in from the Boston Uprising. Mistakes now onto the Brigitte.
Yeah.
As they set up to try and hold this. The issue with this composition is a little bit is how are you actually going to kill people? Striker basically has to hit shots. It's going to be very difficult for them to finish off players, considering how tank heavy they are right now, and the nerfs the Diva.
There's a hack on the Striker right away. Taimu has to translocate out of there, though. Couldn't quite fight against the SMG.
Oh boy, Mickey's on Brigitte. This is what we were waiting for.
He does get the kill on the mistake, so...
Oh, no!
Man, it was so close, but Striker got the kill. Boston scrambling here. Meanwhile...
Well, that's not a good start, Mickey.
And Harryuk and Ungo are just moving it. This is a win
Yeah.
right now for the Dallas Fuel because the cart keeps on moving down the track.
So far, we're rating Mickey's Brigitte a solid 2 out of 10 for that one. Hopefully, he brings up his average.
Finally, the tanks for the Boston Uprising are going to be there to stop that.
Well, Taimu with another hack. Coming in onto Kalios for the moment.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
He's going to delay a little bit with the self-destruct. Oh, he caught Ungo with that one.
Okay, so the reason why I'm not pausing is because we're still in the stagger phase between first and second, and until shit stabilizes, I'm not going to bother analyzing comps or positions because shit gets chaotic. This is what you would consider a devolved team fight, and I was talking to a few other people, a few other coaches that I respect, and most of them, I was specifically talking about how they approach working with teams during devolved or chaotic team fights. And like you can coach generalities, but sometimes whenever you're coaching a team, you have to be careful not to coach somebody as if they were omniscient. And what I mean by that is that if something were to happen, but the individual you're trying to coach would have no reasonable way of knowing that or no attention, resources that they could devote to tracking or identifying that information, then it's impossible to coach that. So if you're a VOD reviewer or something and you're saying, because of this, and this, you should have done this, and you're coaching that during a chaotic team fight, it's entirely fucking useless. Because the situation is always going to be different, and even if that situation did arise again in the future, would that individual be able to identify that situation in the moment? If the answer is no, it's not worth coaching because they won't even recognize the situation in the future in order to apply the knowledge of which you are trying to impart upon them. So during chaotic team fights, you can speak of generalities, ways to try and force some sort of organization or communication, such as stack on, target focus, discords, general shot calling or target calling and priority like that. But trying to coach plays or micro corrections during devolved team fights, I think, and other people think, is utterly worthless.
I think Gamsu helping out a little bit there. Maybe just kind of pushing him in to the right place. So Boston does hold. There goes Taimu now, a little bit of a delayed kill there.
Boston has stabilized for the moment, working their way up to that rally, but still quite a long ways away. Striker has been the linchpin of this defense so far.
Yeah.
See if OGE Seagull can target him better. Taimu wants to opt into the Widow battle now.
Yep. He's going.
Okay. Setup. Dallas Fuel. What is this comp? Both teams are running it? What? Is this common? You guys have watched more Stage 4 than me. You guys have watched way more Stage 4. Is this common? Yes. Interesting. I haven't seen this in scrims at all. I can kind of see the logic behind it. Now, anytime you're playing with a Widowmaker in dive, it's going to be some sort of counter dive composition. The snipers want to be holding positions, controlling sight lines, and they're going to be also providing an anchor point for your supports. But, of course, they're dangerous, or they're vulnerable to being dove on. So if you're playing these compositions that can, if they jump your Widow, for example, or your Zenyatta, you can then jump on, you can either decide whether to engage on the tanks as well, or so you can either counter dive the tanks or counter dive the supports. So in a counter dive, why have I never run into this in scrims? Why are none of the teams I'm working with scrimming this? Now, I'm working with Contenders teams, guys. Contenders is also on 1.22. I'm aware it's a patch, but Contenders also works on 1.22. So it kind of makes... I'm still struggling with this. Because the Brigida needs to be in close proximity. So if... And this is what I'm looking at here, is we can see Striker's positions, and we can see Mistake's position. And Mistakes and Mickey are both kind of frontlining here. But if you're playing counter dive, Dallas Fuel is going to want to engage on something that is not the Brigida, which makes sense, right? So they're going to be wanting to engage on the backline of some sort if they want to hard engage in the first place. But if they do that, Mickey can't go with them. So if Mickey can't go with him, he would be better suited kind of as almost like a D.Va would play as well, where he's kind of frontline pressure, but also would just kind of work between frontline posturing and then backline protecting. But then there's the question of if Dallas Fuel does dive the backline, what is Mistakes going to be doing? Because he doesn't have the same mobility as the Winston and D.Va to return to the backline. So I can see some logic behind it, but I don't... Doesn't immediately, especially not for this map. Okay, I'm going to let it play. This is the downside of analyzing live without having done pre-work, is I run into things that I have not experienced before and I need to try and figure it out live. So I apologize if this is slow, but I don't have a lot of time outside of stream to do research, so I do my discoveries on stream.
Quite a long ways away. Striker has been the linchpin of this defense so far.
Yeah.
See if OGE Seagull can target him better. Taimu wants to opt into the Widow battle now.
Yep. He's going for it. He's feeling good. Gonna go for Widow v Widow. Meanwhile, Seagull takes a big shot from Striker.
So I'm going to be really paying a lot of attention to how Mistakes and Mickey are playing this.
He's in a good location here. He's got some protection. Dallas can maybe put some pressure on the payload, though.
Striker still just peeking at the cards, and there's the rally and the transcendence from Dallas.
Wow, okay, so that builds up some armor because the healing kind of keeps it going. This should have a little bit extra when it's done. Mistakes down, so it's a 6v5 here. Valkyrie used by Harry Hook. Kelix doesn't quite have his yet. It's done. It's from
So Mickey is playing the peeler, right? So look at Gamsu. Gamsu dives on Taimo. And then where does Mickey come from?
wow, okay, so that builds up some armor.
Mickey hears the call and immediately returns. And one of the really annoying things about playing Winston against Brigitte is that she has two abilities that can fuck up your jump here. So Mickey knows that Gamsu is trying to get out.
Kind of,
So he shield bashes.
going. This should have a little bit.
Or did he flail? Flailed first and then shield bashed. Or no, did he just whip her? No, the first one was a whip. So just normal. So 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. So first it was just a normal hit. And right as Gamsu's cooldown to escape is coming back up, shield bash, and then flail so Gamsu can't get out. Mickey's trying to cancel Gamsu's jump. So this is what Mickey's doing, is exactly what I kind of expected, is the old D.Va roll, frontline pressure posture, backline peel, but he's also preventing Gamsu from escaping. Now where is Mistakes?
He's in a good location here. He's got some protection. Dallas can maybe put some pressure on the payload, though.
Striker still just peeking at the cards, and there's the
Mistakes is fighting Mickey. Okay, not what I expected. And they kill him. Okay, so no new information about what Mistakes was attempting to do. The hypothesis of Mickey's playstyle seems to be confirmed. Let's keep watching.
Used by Harry Hook. Kelix doesn't quite have his yet, but he does.
This should be Dallas's win.
Back to the fight. OGE gets Striker, though. That payload could still move soon if Dallas can finish this fight off.
Seagull really needs to get Mistakes down right now. Mistakes has the rally. They've got to kill him before he can use it.
No kidding. It's going to be tough, though.
Mickey dies to aim god, though.
Kill into him, though. Harry Hook down, so no more supports, I believe, for Dallas. Just Unko's still around.
Wow, they fought that back.
And it looks like Dallas is going to have to back away again. Now they have.
There was a lot of first-person perspective there, so we didn't get to see how it was played, but I thought that Dallas had the advantage there.
Still, if Mistakes falls in that fight, the rally isn't used, and likely they can push through to end the map. Now, that said, Boston didn't end up with very much extra armor on their side because they had to pop the rally in the middle of... For the slightest of seconds, I thought that was the position that Mistakes was holding in, and I didn't realize he was rotating to high ground using Nexus instead of Pylon. I was like, what the fuck? Oh, man.
Yeah. They've made some progress. They need more. All right, rally used by Mickey as they approach the payload here. Ready for that fight, although Taimu doesn't really get a lot of that armor, though, if any. Up on the
Spectate one of the Brigs, please.
high ground chase by Kalios. It's a dangerous mode for Taimu, firing with that SMG.
This is the challenge of doing analysis based off of VODs like this instead of third-person VODs, is you can't watch who you want to.
Trying to get the D-Mech, but he
Okay.
can't quite do.
Fuck, Mistakes just died. I don't get to see Mistakes play.
OGE gets Mistakes, so Dallas brawling it out on the payload now. Gamsu about half health. He has to back away.
Oh, Mistakes is getting rezzed, though.
Transcendence there to keep everybody healed.
He's back up.
That's going to push Dallas back, and now we're under a minute. OGE trying to creep his way back towards the fight. Shield on
So far, Mistakes is just frontlining.
cooldown for the moment. Trying to protect Seagull here against Gamsu as he was getting a little bit low health.
Everybody all in right now for this last 45 seconds. Dallas Fuel is out of ultimates. The second rally in this fight comes through for Mickey.
Now OG
Now for this last 45 seconds, Dallas Fuel is out of ultimates. The second rally in this fight comes through for Mickey.
Now OG caught a Discord orb here. He had to back away. Mickey gets the kill on the Gamsu though. This could be big. If they can demech Kalios, they can. Now they got to stay away from that self-destruct. Mickey throws up the shield. At the very end, Kalios gets back into the mech. If they can demech him again, okay, they do. So the tank's out of the way. This is the chance for Dallas to start this series out 1-0. They just need to finish this last fight here. Aimgod gets the Transcendence just in time though. Self-destruct not catching anybody. Dallas scrambling here. Taimu back on the McCree, and he's nearly got the Deadeye.
How did Kalios re-mech in the middle of all that? Dallas Fuel needed to get that
No
kill.
idea.
Another mech down for Kalios, but that extra tankiness might be the ticket to victory for Boston.
I don't know. Now it's just Gamsu on the payload. Rally again for Mickey. That's like his fourth in this fight now. Gamsu down. They might just have it. Kelix dives in. Now Kalios, they're just trying to delay as long as they possibly can. Remember, that respawn is not as close as it was, but it's still pretty close. Mistakes gets in there with the Tracer, but it's going to be Dallas Fuel taking Blizzard World and taking a lead early on in the series.
Okay. So both, no one dove. Did anyone dive anything? Wasn't that just a prolonged frontline engagement until they used Shield Burst to burst something? Shield Bash to burst something down? That was just a brawl. They were just using Shield Bash to burst people down, and Dallas Fuel did a better job of bursting people down. I didn't see a single dive, did I? Okay, let's look at any time tanks activated. So I was paying attention to Brigitte specifically. They basically just held M1 on the front line. Mickey had more coordination with his team in terms of like shield bashing people to finishing them off. But now I want to watch the tank line to see how these dives played out. Let's go to this fight here after Taimu dies.
It's a dangerous one for Taimu, firing with that SMG, trying to get the D-Mech, but he can't quite do it. OGE gets Mistakes, so Dallas brawling it out on the payload now. Gamsu about half health.
Okay, so where did Gamsu just end up? Gamsu just jumped. Why? Why did Gamsu jump?
But he can't quite do it. OGE
Gamsu
gets Mistakes,
goes
so Dallas brawling it out on the payload now.
up.
Gamsu about half health.
Just because he was half health? OGE jumps out because he was half health?
That's going to push Dallas back, and now we're under.
Are they jumping so they don't get bursted? Gamsu jumps. Seagull jumps out to chase Gamsu.
Everybody all in right now for this last 45 seconds. Dallas Fuel is out of ultimates.
OGE jumped back in. Gamsu got caught inside where he couldn't escape.
This could be big. If they can demech Kalios,
That's going to be
can.
shielded.
Now they got to stay away from that self-destruct. Mickey throws up the shield. At the very end, Kalios gets back into the mech. If they can demech him again, okay.
They're only using jump to prevent themselves getting bursted down.
They do. So the tank's out of the way. This is the chance for Dallas to start this series out 1-0. They just need to finish this last fight here. Aimgod gets the Transcendence just in time, though. Self-destruct not catching anybody.
Oh, no. Gamsu pursued something.
Dallas scrambling here. Taimu back on the McCree, and he's nearly got the Deadeye.
OGE? Or who was that who jumped to stabilize?
How did Kalios not catching anybody? Dallas scrambling here. Taimu back on the McCree, and he's nearly got the dead eye.
Kalios.
How did Kalios re-mech in the middle of all that? Dallas Fuel needed to get that
No
kill.
idea.
Another mech down for Kalios, but that extra tankiness might be the ticket to victory for Boston.
I don't know. Now it's just Gamsu on the payload. Rally again for Mickey. That's like his fourth in this fight now. Gamsu down. They might just have it. Kellex dives in. Now Kalios, they're just trying to delay as long as they possibly can. Remember, that respawn is not as close as it was, but it's still pretty close. Mistakes gets in there with the Tracer, but it's going to be Dallas Fuel.
Okay. Why would compositions not be more powerful than that one? Is the question. So I'm going to reserve judgment, but I really hope we get to see that composition get used again against a composition that is not its mirror. I think that'll give me more insight to how it's working. Does not running a Reinhardt allow them to invest in their Widow more? Not, well, kind of. Widowmaker doesn't need a lot of support unless she gets pressured. And especially in this sort of brawling composition, you would be wanting to invest all of your healing resources into your frontline, especially since Brigida's E can't be self-applied. Brigida herself needs a very strong source of healing in order to keep her aggressive. So you want your Mercy being able to pocket the Brigida when necessary. Especially if you're working off rally, which would be really smart. Even damage boosting the Brigida, if they're clustered, wouldn't be the worst idea ever.
But I think he did get like 4 of them in the last fight, and that was pretty awesome. Now, Dallas on the defense once again.
2,
Boston
3,
going for a bit
4,
of a
5. Let's check it out. So Boston Uprising... Does anyone remember what I said about the Seoul Dynasty's triple DPS attack? What I would change? Did say Sombra. So I suspect that we're going to be seeing... This is also one of the more annoying things about the Overwatch League, to me at least, is that you can see these really creative strategies, and then it turns out that, oh, everyone's running it because it got passed around through scrims. It's like... Okay, fine. But so I assume this comp and strategy is going to be a variant on what we saw Seoul Dynasty attempt against the New York Excelsior, with Dallas Fuel, unsurprisingly, running the exact same composition that New York did in this situation. So all the teams, I just feel like if you kept the teams in isolation, the strategies would be a lot more unique. Because this is New York versus Seoul Dynasty with Aim God playing Sombra instead of Genji.
Sombra attacking strategy this time.
Yeah, the Sombra has been increasing in frequency here.
So there you can see the... Did I miss it? Did the Sombra go with the Tracer towards minis?
Attacking strategy this time.
Sombra's here, Tracer is here.
Yeah, the Sombra has been increasing.
Where's Sombra? Sombra's still main.
Here on Horizon, of course.
There's Tracer? Tracer had to recall? What forced Tracer's
Not
recall?
much has changed about the meta in this map overall. We're still seeing Sombra Tracer or Sombra Widowmaker in this case on the attack, as well as the classic Orisa.
Interesting. So compared to what Seoul Dynasty did here. Okay. Let's take a look at this. I gotta open up Stat Banana again. Ugh. I had everything set up for this stream prior to the stream today. And then, oh no, my computer needs to restart. Okay, let's take a look at this again. So, on the high ground, we have the Orisa, we have the Diva, we have the Zenyatta, we have the Mercy, we have the Widowmaker, and we have... Where is Mr. Junkrat? There you are. Then we have Junkrat. And then the attackers are going to be running the Winston and the Diva, as well as the Mercy, and then we're going to have Sombra. Where is Tracer? Where the hell is Tracer? There you are. Tracer and Widow. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So this is how you guys are going to be set up again. Initially, but then D.Va is going to be the roamer here, and then these guys are going to come in from this side. Where did Widowmaker start?
Here on Horizon, of course, not much.
Widowmaker is low right. Mercy, and then Tracer and Sombra are going to be over here. Now, this is what I would expect from this composition, and it's kind of weird that it's not happening for the Boston Uprising right off the bat. So you're going to be starting here with this sort of setup on, you're going to start basically like this for the Boston Uprising. And then the next thing that the Boston Uprising wants to be doing is they want to be moving this Sombra and the Tracer, want to be going in through the mini room over towards kind of this area over here. So if we can start in this area, and then we have the Sombra and the Tracer move over through the left side flank here towards the point, then what's going to happen is that this Sombra can control both minis here, and then both of the flankers can pressure the point. Whereas Seoul Dynasty, when they were trying this, they only sent Tracer, and then Tracer was able to be contested by the Zenyatta, who has the sight lines onto the point, as well as the D.Va, who can move down to contest the point. And so if it was only Tracer in this location, then the D.Va would be able to very easily win with combination of Harmony on the D.Va, Discord on the Tracer. But with Sombra hacking D.Va removes her ability to escape, the defense matrix to block the damage, and there's enough damage coming out here for Harmony not to be effective enough. So whereas when Soul tried this, it was only Tracer. With Sombra there as well, it prevents D.Va from being able to contest at all. While this is happening, as soon as these two move on to the point, what happens is going to be Winston and D.Va are going to be jumping up here, and then Mercy is going to follow because this is going to be a soft engage. And then Mistakes is either going to stay here or hop up to this location. Or maybe even later on we could see Mistakes rotate over to this position. And then these guys are going to pretty much stay here until they realize what's happening. So this is like the first set, is that we're going to have the flankers move around the left side. You actually are going to stay there. But, and then what's happening here is that the Dallas Fuel is basically realizing that the D.Va is not going to be enough to contest the point if they stay here. They'll win this fight, but they'll lose their D.Va. And if they lose their D.Va, then things are going to go very poorly for them very quickly. So instead of having this situation arise entirely, what happens is that Dallas Fuel just immediately rotates to the point because they're in a situation where if the Sombra and the Tracer take the 2v1, which you could consider a 2v2 if the Zen is here, then they're going to lose. And just the Tracer, the next thing that's going to happen is that after D.Va gets eliminated, how do I kill somebody? I don't even know. But yeah, after D.Va gets eliminated, what's happened is that Sombra and Tracer are probably going to come up to the high ground, or, Sombra might go there with the translocator. Who knows what Sombra's going to do in this location. But if they don't do anything or rotate to the point earlier, they're going to beat the D.Va, and then they'll join the dive coming in from behind. So they need to rotate to point to make sure that they can actually contest it without getting picked apart. Now, that's the theory behind this composition. Let's see how it actually plays out here.
Sombra attacking strategy this time.
Yeah, the Sombra has been increasing in frequency here on Horizon.
So those guys get knocked away. Now, the Tracer is still here, which is interesting to me.
About the meta in this map overall, we're still seeing Sombra Tracer or Sombra Widowmaker in this case.
So Taimo drops back, and here, instead of going on the left side with the Sombra, we've seen that Tracer is actually going to be going underneath to the right side. So here, like the Tracer did go onto the left originally, but then rotates around to the right side instead. So we were going that way. Sombra, I think, is still over there. Could be wrong, though.
On the attack, as well as the classic Orisa.
Was that Sombra over there?
Or Sombra
So
Widowmaker
timer
in
drops.
this case on the attack, as well as the classic
Yes, Sombra is on the
Orisa
left.
with Junkrat on the defense.
That was a beautiful shot. Holy shit.
Or Sombra Widowmaker in this case on the attack, as well as the classic Orisa with Junkrat on the defense.
Oh, he's back.
I mean, Taimu is a streaky player. This is the thing about Taimu.
Yep.
He hasn't had the best performances in Overwatch League, but traditionally in the longer
So,
history of
what is Tracer
Overwatch,
doing?
when he is on,
So Striker's over on the
amazing.
left side now with Sombra. So Striker did threaten right, but then he's gone to his left.
After watching Taimu for a couple of years, I feel like you can tell, oh boy, a little bit of pressure coming in from Gamsu anyway. Oh, kills for...
Okay, so Boston's dive is still extremely well executed. That's what we've determined. Like, yes, mistakes killed Seagull here, but that dive, so Striker maneuvered in, and then where did Gamsu actually dive from?
I feel like you can, after watching...
Wow.
Overwatch League, but traditionally in the longer history of Overwatch, when he is on,
Look where he is. This is one of the greatest things that Boston has always been good at, is really well executed dives. Really well executed dives. So let's take a look at this here for a second. Hey, Enstein. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thank you so much for the $10. Danta232 with the tier 2 sub. I appreciate the both of you. Okay, let's go back into our map testing custom. Thanks, Danta.
Traveling to Horizon Luna Colony.
Do you know when the players for Team Canada will be chosen? During the months of June and July, as far as I'm aware. I'm sure there'll be information about tryouts and player selection coming out in June. Because the committee is chosen on May 31st. Which, again, if you have the ability to vote for me, if you are top 150 Canadian players on PC or console, whether it's Xbox or PS4, it doesn't matter, you have the ability to vote for me if you go to the Overwatch World Cup website, and I would truly appreciate it. Okay, so yeah, this sort of dive, I actually didn't think that this dive angle was possible. I don't think I've ever seen a dive executed through this window before. So, how does he do it? Does he jump? He must jump and back off in order to get this angle. Yeah, this is a... I think he has to jump and fall backwards in order to pull this jump off. I still don't get distance. How did he do this? How did he do this?
he is amazing.
I feel like you can, after watching Taimu for a couple of years...
Oh. So he jumps at more of a horizontal angle. Oh, I landed on the tire. That is not an easy jump. This is practiced. There's no... Fuck. What the hell? Can you imagine if that tire fucked you up in an actual Overwatch League game? God, that would anger me. They thought this was safe enough of a dive to do? Really? There we go. I finally did it.
Traditionally, in the longer history of Overwatch, when he is on, he is amazing.
I feel like you can, after watching Taimu for a couple of years, I feel like
That's such a sick dive.
Traditionally, in the longer history of Overwatch, when he is
What
on,
does the Diva do
he is
during this
amazing.
dive? So this is like we saw Striker threaten right, rotate left. Aim God is also over there, so this dive is happening there. And then what is Mistake's position?
Thing about Taimu,
Yep.
he hasn't had the best performances in Overwatch League, but traditionally in the longer history of
Mistakes,
Overwatch,
where
when he
are
is
you?
on, he is amazing.
He's
I
just
feel like you
main.
can, after watching Taimu for a couple of years, I feel like you.
Okay. Wait, am I attack or defense?
I seem to have
Do.
lost my temper.
Mistakes.
One shot, one kill.
Spider Widow. Spider Widow. I see why you're main. Nope. Nope. Kind of? So there.
Traditionally, in the longer history of Overwatch, when he is on, he is amazing.
I feel like you can, after watching Taimu for a couple of years, I feel like you can tell.
I don't see him.
Oh boy, a little bit of
Where did he go?
pressure coming in from Gamsu anyway. Oh, kills for Boston Uprising as well. Taimu has to back away. Aim got. Oh.
Show me mistakes. He rotated onto point. I wonder if they do a replay.
Oh, kills for Boston Uprising as well. Taimu has to back away. Aim got. Oh.
Where was mistakes? What angle was he
Takes him
playing?
out. Rather, Striker finishing him off now.
Wait a second. Would this be a decent angle?
Aim got in on the action, but it was Strike with the final blow. And what I was about to say is that I feel like you can tell Taimu's mood by how he's aiming. And it looked good, but unfortunately, Boston decided to win the fight as soon as started saying that. So I'm sorry, Taimu. It's another caster curse.
And this is a return to what
Yes.
Boston does
That's exactly what I wanted to see.
as well.
Oh,
right?
he goes
They're
left side.
playing a long-range sniper with no pressure here at Mistakes, combined with the dive composition. They've always been great about coordinating.
I thought that position would have been more too exposed. I would have thought this position, like this position has the best sight lines by far, but I thought that this position would have been too exposed, and it has like you don't have the ability to. I don't think you can crouch behind that, can you? I wish I had another player in this lobby. I don't like. I'm not sure if this is. If you get into a Widow duel, I'm not sure if this is enough. Is it risky enough to move there? Assuming that no, you're diving the Widow. You're diving the Widow, so she can't even contest you. What am I thinking? That's even better. Of course, you don't have to be worried about the enemy Widow contest you. You're diving her. That's smart.
History of Overwatch, when he is on, he is amazing.
I feel like you can, after watching Taimu for a couple of years, I feel like you can tell, oh boy, a little bit of pressure coming in from Gamsu anyway. Oh, kills for Boston Uprising as well. Taimu has to back away.
What Boston does well, right? They're playing a long-range sniper with no pressure here at Mistakes, combined with the dive composition. They've always been great about coordinating Gamsu and Striker. Happens again right there to get into Dallas's backline. And with the swaps coming over, Mickey onto Brigitte, OGE onto Winston.
Well, I appreciate it regardless,
There's a
Jess.
real chance of a snowball here. Alex already has that Valkyrie. This is Boston's time to get a quick 2-cap.
Yeah, and Dallas looking a little bit unprepared for this one now. Striker gets stunned right as he drops, comes into the pulse bomb though. No kills out of that one.
So Dallas has immediately swapped back onto the same composition that we were looking at in Blizzard World, but now Boston is running not a mirror, so we'll have to see how these two comps kind of function.
Early, but
Although Horizon Lunar Colony isn't going to be the best one to look at it because Dallas Fuel, their backline has the ability of just literally retreating back to spawn. So this is a map and an instance in which it makes a lot of sense for Dallas Fuel to run this because the weakness in this composition that I've seen so far, or at least am hypothesizing is the issue, is that Mickey, the speed at which he can peel for the backline is abysmal. But if Taimo, Unko, or Harahook can just walk back into the spawn room to get heals instead of needing Mickey to peel for them, this is actually a fantastic place to run this composition.
Res Gamsu back to the fight too before they really started engaging. Seagull has to jet away. Ooh, didn't get D-Mech there, but came close. Got back to the health pack, but still not a lot of health after that. Will get popped out of the Diva Mech, and Boston kind of rolling through B here. Dallas kind of needs to get some sort of defense going.
I mean, they have Mickey on the point right now. They're going to try and cycle some tanks over. Striker is, for the most part, contained. They're still building a little bit of percent. Not the first tick yet, though.
With that rally coming out, that's huge. That rally reduces the damage that Boston Uprising can put out dramatically. It cuts Winston's damage in half. It cuts Tracer's damage by 41%. It cuts Diva's damage by 50%? I think even with full headshots, Diva's damage is still cut by 50% outside of micro missiles. So the only two people who can do any appreciable damage here is Mistakes and Aim God when Rally is active. So Dallas Fuel, their Rally is essentially a defensive support ult against the Boston Uprising's composition here.
Rally for Mickey. Dallas going in. They're going to use that Transcendence again on both sides. Mistakes, meanwhile, looking for some picks with the Deadeye. Gets stunned out of it by Mickey, just diving in there. He is not worried.
Rip.
And OGE taking him out with the Primal Rage. Now Boston's scrambling. They're going to have to back away. And after that long fight, Boston has to exit point B without even a tick.
Yeah, Striker needs to switch to Junkrat now. This is not going to be a viable strategy. The swap over to Mickey, to Brigitte for Mickey, got him the rally very quickly, and then he shut
Rally comes up so fast in these dive brawls, it's pretty ridiculous.
down Striker on the attack.
Dude, watch that again. What am I... You can't just say that without asking me what to watch again. Like, we can certainly watch the fight again if you'd like, but I'm not sure if there was anything that interesting in this fight. Ults got popped. Dallas Fuel won because they had the superior composition.
Rally for Mickey. Dallas going in. They're going to use that Transcendence again. On
Oh, the Deadeye shut down?
sides. Mistakes, meanwhile, looking for some picks with it.
Wait, what the fuck? Did he jump over Kalios?
Tanks over. Striker is, for the most part, contained. They're still building a little bit of percent. Not the first tick yet, though.
Rally for Mickey. Dallas going in. They're going to use that
How?
Transcendence again on both sides. Mistakes, meanwhile. Looking.
What? You can do that? There's no diva bots. Neat.
For some picks with the Deadeye. Gets stunned out of it by Mickey.
He just jumps over Kalios.
He just diving in there. He is not worried. And OG
Oh, did he jump on the console? Oh my god, if he did that, I'm buying a Mickey jersey.
taking
Holy
him out with
smokes.
the Primal Rage. Now Boston's scrambling. They're going to have to back away. And after that long fight, Boston has to exit point B without even a tick.
Yeah, Striker needs to switch to Junkrat now. This is not going to be a viable strategy. The swap over to Mickey, to Brigitte for Mickey, got him the rally very quickly, and then he shut down
I
Striker
didn't know you could jump over a diva from standing.
on the attack. So now's the time to make some adjustments. Boston, again, coming in scattered.
I'm sure this is on Reddit. If you guys pointed this out, it means it was on Reddit. Nobody catches that on a watch through. Well, not nobody, but not as many people as caught it, which tells me that that clip was on Reddit. Oh, goodness. Excuse me. Do. Mickey. Why does a search for Mickey not make it show up? That is sad. High noon. I guess it's not on Reddit. Who knew? Oh, there's the clip. There's the clip. Somebody posted it.
Better than ever.
Yeah, and I feel like you can contribute this win to a lot of players. You can contribute it to Seagull. Even Unko came in big, in my opinion, with a lot of good Zenyatta play. But in
better than ever.
yeah, and I feel like you can contribute this win to a lot of players. You can contribute it to Seagull. Even Unko came in big, in my opinion, with a lot of good Zenyatta play. But in many ways, it is
Better than
It doesn't even look like he uses the console. It looks like he just walks over Diva.
ever.
yeah, and I feel like you can contribute this win to a lot of players. You can contribute it to Seagull. Even Unko came in big, in my opinion, with a lot of good Zenyatta play. But in many ways...
What? I didn't know you could do that. Crazy. He slides on top of the console? Was like... Man, it's hard to tell whether or not that was even on purpose. Interesting. Interesting.
But Kellex had already used the Valkyrie, and so he only managed to get the res at the end of the Valkyrie, and that really slowed down the snowball.
Mickey died really late in that fight, and oh, now it's going to be a stick on the Harry Hook. Mickey's slow to get back to that fight in the meantime, and Boston trying to capitalize on it. Kellex brings Gamsu back again.
Like, if he did use the console, it didn't look intentional.
And now Boston on the point right now, getting a little bit of control percent building, but not much. Mickey goes deep, this time taken out by mistakes, but Dallas still holds.
Yeah, they will stabilize. Kellex holds on to his Valkyrie.
Okay, fine, I'll tweet at him. Jeepers. Did I spell Kalios correctly? Yep. There. If he responds yes, I'll buy a jersey.
Dallas Fuel only really used the self-destruct, and Boston's coming back again.
Mickey gonna say yes for the memes?
Striker used the pulse bomb. It was effective, but he's got to get off this hero right now. Against all these tanks, it's going to be a lot better to try and play a Junkrat from the high ground.
It's going to be probably both teams with both big support ultimates. Harry Hook getting pretty close to his Valkyrie.
I have Surefour's jersey on right now.
That rally too pretty soon if he's able to get in combat and swing that flail around a little bit. Meanwhile, Seagull tracks Gamsu down. He's got to get back, drops the shield and exits. Boston having a good amount of ults though to engage with. Oh, Gamsu the stun there forces the primal rage out. They were about to take him down, so Winston ult popped maybe a bit early. Now Kalios has to use that self-destruct to get back into the mech again. So Boston, not the engage they were really hoping for here. Oh, there goes both Zens, though. Double Zen kill now. Mistakes. A little bit on his own, firing away at the tanks here. Harry Hook brings Unko back. Kellex with the aim god now. Both Mercies bringing their Zems back. The self-destruct sent through by Seagull. No kills with that one. Forces Gamsu around to the side. It's going to be aim.
These... I feel like revising my opinion on Widowmaker. Ever since I made the comment about Widowmaker being boring to watch, I really took everyone's input who were quite angry at me. I got flamed for a very long period of time about my opinion that Widowmaker is boring to watch. And I still don't really like Widowmaker from a game design perspective because she has the ability to, at the upper play level, have a much larger impact than any other character's potential is within a reasonable skill set. But people kept telling me that, like with Widowmaker Dive, there's not as much strategy involved. But I think with the snipers involved in the Season 10 meta comps or whatnot, there is a lot more strategy. And I've put a lot of effort off-stream into kind of learning all of the intricacies of working with Widowmakers, countering Widowmakers, and, enabling your own Widowmaker to win duels and whatnot. So I've got a newfound appreciation for the strategic elements that go into how to function as a Widowmaker and play with and against a Widowmaker on a teams and the plans and how just that element changes things. So I have a new strategic appreciation for the existence of Widowmaker. This bullshit, on the other side, on the other hand, maybe there's some hidden strategic element to it, but especially with the Brigitte and just playing Deathball, but with the Winston and Diva just hammering on each other. It just seems very, very sloppy and chaotic. There's no, on a lot of the other ways that you do this team fight, or a lot of the other ways that you engage with each other as teams, there's a posturing phase, there's trying to take map control here, but it doesn't really seem like map control is something that actually is relevant when these two compositions run into each other. It's kind of just a different type of war of attrition in the fact that we have the shield break composition, which is basically how well one team can manage their shield versus the DPS versus the healing compared to another one. Whoever wins the shield war is going to win the fight. It's just a war of resources. It's a grind. It's a war of attrition. And this seems like a variant of shield break, but just trying to drain the opponent's resources. So it was really bad on Blizzard World, but even here, it doesn't even seem like there's much strategic positioning to be had. There's some divide and conquer going on, but in terms of map control, strategic positioning, and posturing, it just doesn't seem to exist in this matchup between these two compositions.
God, popping that Transcendence now doesn't save Kelix, as they're going to get a kill with Seagull. OGE now with the Primal Raid.
But yes, Widowmaker is still just clicking heads, just watching a Widowmaker click heads. That itself, still not interesting to watch. But there's more strategy behind it than I originally realized.
Just trying to push the rest of Boston back, and that's going to cause him to get a couple kills. And, I as tight again as Boston looked on A. I'm not.
And, That's not what I wanted. Anyway, I'll find it later. But Arrow actually did come on this channel at one point. He was a guest on this channel when we talked about contenders. He came on to review a contenders match with me. And he was specifically talking about strategies for dealing with chaotic and devolved team fights. And he used the phrase basically that attention is a resource. Apologize for that. That's sure for screaming. Thanks, MacBear, for the 3 months. But I will not do it justice, but there is a recording of Arrow discussing contenders, reviewing a match of Fusion University on my YouTube channel. If you are interested in Arrow's coaching thought process, definitely give it a watch. It was dense. He pretty much overwhelmed me. So even though he was my guest, I had to go back and rewatch that recording to catch some of the things that he was saying. Very worthwhile watch, that one. Arrow reviewing Fusion University. But he talked. We specifically discuss how you work with a team and how you kind of strategize around devolved or chaotic team fights.
not seeing it on B.
It's the failure to adapt, Noah.
Yeah.
It's again, they come in with a plan and they come in with an execution, but when Dallas adjusts their composition. So now Time has been on the Widowmaker for a while, and you know what? He's hanging out in the back, and with McCree's fall-off damage, Mistakes isn't going to be able to damage him from range, and right now Mickey is just following Striker around, preventing him from putting pressure down. So Kalios with the Zarya isn't really going to help either. They don't even have a great follow-up to a Graviton.
So here, now this is what I wanted to see. This is exactly, not quite exactly, this is really close to what I wanted to see. I wanted to see this Widow Brig comp go against a Rein Zarya. I would have liked to see it go against Rein Zarya Brig, but Rein Zarya as a first step is pretty good to see how it functions.
It's on Surge right now, especially if they have to play into Transcendence. Unless Mistakes lands the sickest Deadeye of all time, you're really not going to get much.
You never know. Gamsu getting a little bit low. There's a Deadeye. Will it be the sickest of all time? Nope, not quite.
I mean, with the Graviton. But yes, like it's really going to be a challenge for follow-up damage.
Dink.
Oh, Mistakes down, and there goes Striker. Taimu just 1v2s the DPS.
He's back, baby.
Taimu's died once on this map so far. And on the last map, he died 5 times in their defense, but only 1 time in their entire attack. So it's been a great day to be Taimu.
Yep. Sometimes is. They got the extra armor now, and Taimu doesn't even need it. Just shoots Striker right off the map. Kelix with the res. Striker has to grapple away immediately. That was a pretty exposed place to be brought back up again.
Yeah, it's a Taimu trying to time out that invulnerability.
Oh, meanwhile, Seagull kills Kalios too, so that's a major player down on Boston that they need to wait for. Under 2 minutes remaining now. It's been a long hold for Dallas, but it's been a good one.
And now Mistakes comes over to the Junkrat and Striker over to the Widowmaker, so they're trying to swap around roles, it would appear. And Striker at least did have some good success on the Widowmaker in the last map, even though they didn't win it.
True. That was off of flanks, though. I mean, if Dallas doesn't really allow him those angles, might be okay. Mickey goes in with the shield bash. Gamsu taking some serious damage. He's
What bursted Gamsu there?
doesn't really allow him those
Was it a Taimo headshot?
angles. Might be okay.
Gamsu, Gamsu, Gamsu.
He goes in with the shield bash.
Was not a headshot. What killed him there? Did Unko dink him repeatedly? Was that 2 discorded headshots back to
That
back?
was off of flanks, though. I mean, if Dallas
Is he discorded?
doesn't really allow him those
Shield bash.
angles,
Harmony's on him, but not
might be
Discord.
okay. Mickey goes in with
Discord is on him.
the shield bash.
I think it was just a right click. I think it was 2 body shots and a headshot. So
Gamsu taking some serious
Unko
damage. He's
bursted
going
him down.
And I gotta say, man, Mickey is still the best Brigitte I've seen.
1 headshot,
in the
2 body
overall
shots from
season.
Zenyatta.
Taimu
Looked like it killed him.
Another duel against Striker during all this too.
I think it's really hard. Boston is just late on these composition swaps right now.
And the front line is not the one determining whether these fights are won or lost right now. It's Taimo. Taimo is just going pretty crazy here.
Taimu's in the groove. You've got 1, maybe 2 attacks left.
I don't really see... Like, Mistakes would be good as more of like a counter dive thing. But he's going to struggle to actually... Like, especially against the Diva. And they're not really playing angles that Mistakes can actually capitalize on. Well, so Mistakes, I think, is a little bit of a more interesting pick here. It's not the worst. It's not certainly not the worst pick by far. I think if you're trying to counter pick, there's better options.
Who's going to delay you with Infrasight? You're going to have to play into this one. You can see he's playing very far. What? Another one!
God damn, boy.
Taimu is looking untouchable today. Another res used early by Kelix to bring Striker back.
And there you go. Infrasight in right now. That slows them down. We're now down to 1 attack here.
If that was a
For the
headshot...
Boston Uprising, they've been holding both of their support ults for like the last 3 fights.
Self-destruct coming in. No kills out of that one. And now, okay, here comes the Graviton from Boston. We'll see if they capitalize on it. They do get OGE, which is a good start to that fight. The Riptire gets nothing, though.
Now this Zarya is high charged. Kalios is high charged. Is the Mega there? If Kalios gets this Mega, it could be disastrous.
He blocked that with a shield, potentially.
Yeah,
No Mega there.
possible.
But they're not finishing him off? Oh, he got Harmony. Seagull's in a bad place right now, and he's running out of DM. Aim God getting that Harmony on Kalios and keeping him alive is... This is what I would have considered to be one of the major weaknesses of this composition, is just a high-energy Zarya.
You can block the damage with their shield.
Seagull does get out.
Transcendence coming in. Gamsu on the run. Seagull going deep here. They're trying to put the pressure onto Kelix. Now he's turning on the Aim God, peeling him off from the team, forcing that Transcendence early. Gamsu gets a charge kill onto Mickey, which you don't see often. Oh, and finally, Striker from on high picks off Taimu, and at the last second here, Boston with a chance to really gain some ground here on B, but they're going to have to take it in overtime. But it looks like they may just have done it. They're waiting. Mickey trying to delay. Dies immediately. Striker gets a kill. Now OGE comes in. Graviton Surge used again. Kalios built another one.
Okay. What was Striker doing during this fight? So, not Striker, Mistakes. So Mistakes seem to be always near Kalios. Is this a coincidence, or is this kind of a two-man core they're playing
now
with?
that slows them down. We're now down to one attack here for the Boston Uprising.
Mistakes is with Kalios.
For like the last 3 fights.
Self-destruct.
They rotate into that left room based on the Diva Bomb.
Kills out of that one. And now, okay, here comes the Graviton from Boston. We'll see if they capitalize on it. They do get OGE, which is a good start to that fight. The Riptire gets nothing, though.
Like
So-
he blocked that with a shield, potentially.
Yeah, that's possible. You can block the damage with your shield. It is true. Transcendence coming in. Gamsu on the run. Seagull going deep here. They're trying to put the pressure onto Kelix. Now he's turning on the Aim God, peeling him off from the team, forcing that Transcendence early. Gamsu gets a charge kill onto Mickey, which he does
That's a really nice shot.
often. Oh, and finally, Striker from on high picks off Taimu, and at the last second here, Boston with a chance to really gain some ground here on B, but they're going to have to take it in overtime. But it looks like they may just have done it.
So Kalios charges a Grav. I'm not sure if you guys saw. Kalios started this fight, but Kalios' second Grav in 33 seconds. Kalios got his second Grav here in 33 seconds. I don't think anybody picked up on this, but yeah, feeding off Seagull, right? OGE's personal bubble goes away, Kalios just farms him. Seagull just gets farmed constantly. Like Mickey is probably the best bet for taking out Kalios, but in a 1v1 maybe, and if Kalios is at low energy. But a high energy Zarya, I just feel like it runs rampant against this this Brigida Widowmaker dive comp.
They're waiting. Mickey trying to delay. Dies immediately. Striker gets a kill. Now OGE comes in. Graviton Surge.
What is questionable advice? Why wasn't the attacking Widow saving her ult to use at the same time as the defending Widow to cancel that Vado? I feel like it's pointless otherwise. It's definitely not pointless otherwise. That's a New York thing. It's actually kind of funny to the point where this was not even known as a strat until Dave published an article about it, and now everyone is considering that to be the only way that sites should be used. Kind of amusing to me. Which is quote 11.
Used again. Kalios built another one, and so Boston gets their
Why was Aim God so far out of position? Was Aim God out of position?
shield. It is true. Transcendence coming in. Gamsu on the run. Seagull going deep here. They're trying to put the pressure onto Kelix. Now he's turning on the Aim God.
It's not out of position. Kellex was there. That gives him really good sight lines. He has cover and a mini health pack. That position's fine.
Peeling him off from the team, forcing that Transcendence early. Gamsu gets a charge kill onto Mickey, which you don't see often. Oh, and finally, Striker from on high picks
No,
up
that position
Taimu,
was
and
fine.
At the last second here, Boston with a chance to really gain some ground here on B, but they're going to have to take it in overtime. But it looks like they may just have done it. They're waiting. Mickey trying to delay. Dies immediately. Striker gets a kill. Now OGE comes in. Graviton Surge used again. Kalios built another one. And so Boston gets their second point at the very end. They got it in overtime, but they got it done.
And that's when those compositional changes.
So I do think that the Brigida Widowmaker dive composition has weaknesses. And the largest weakness that I thought got run by Boston, and they capped off it. So
higher degree of English fluency, but a
One
little bit
interesting
less experience
early
with the
hold
team.
locations. What is this?
Have to see which
Is this just a shoot and retreat thing?
weighs more here. Boston Uprising on
Yeah,
the
okay.
defense now. Dallas.
So same defensive composition we've seen from every single team so far. So I'm not going to go over that. Dallas Fuel running the more standard like Sombra Genji dive. Are they going to do this in the same way that Soul
Going to
did?
try to get both points with a bit more time in the time bank.
Who's your favorite team? New York.
Yeah, Dallas going to return Seagull to the Genji, and Taimu over onto the Sombra.
Whoa. Oh, mistake skills Harry Hook off.
Well, that's
right
unfortunate.
after that, so that's going to be the end of that push.
It is really hard to make it across that gap. Taimu's
So
already
how
on
is
the
Dallas
flank,
Fuel
though.
going to
He's
play
be
this?
hacking the
Are they going to
mid-field
play
back,
this in
so
the
he's
same
just
way
waiting
that
for the rest
Soul
of his
did and
team.
Boston
He'll start
did,
to
or
put pressure
some?
on the point. That's
So
where
Taimo
Boston
is on the
send
left
one
side.
more members
I
down
assume
the
he's
point
going to go
himself.
contest the point
That's where
using
you get
this.
the dive in there with the Diva. And the Winston
And touching the
Genji.
point will force Kalios back, who can get threatened with hack, while Dallas Fuel soft engages the high ground.
Pressure on the point beginning now.
There it is. The touch in the OG. That was the low ground.
That's right. Going to try to force Boston to retreat.
Is this just like the softest engagement in the world?
Back to the point right now. They will send someone to deal with Taimu. Meanwhile, Stryker takes a bit of
That was a pretty soft engage. I'll give Dallas that.
damage here.
Yeah, they sent Kalios back, but Kalios has to go back again right now because Taimu's again on the point.
Yeah, and he should be. I mean, Taimu should be in.
I'm not sure if I like this rotation position from the Boston Uprising. I feel like they should have dropped down to the point. This position allows them to be corralled pretty easily.
Annoying pretty much for this entire rest of the push.
Harry!
Trying to crouch away from it. Guardian Angel's out of the way. And now OG8 on top of Stryker. It was so close. But Seagull and the rest of Dallas getting some kills here.
Back, but Kalios has to go back again right now because Taimu's again on the point.
There's no way they didn't know Stryker was here.
And
How
it
did
should be.
Harry
I
end
mean,
up in that
Taimu
position?
should be annoying.
I feel like this was an oversight.
Pretty much for this entire rest of the push. Harry Hook in a lot of trouble here. Trying to crouch away from it. Guardian Angel's out of the way. And now OG8 on top of Stryker. It was so close. But Seagull and the rest of Dallas getting some kills here. They've got a chance to grab A.
Yeah, I think the fault was of the Boston Uprising's rotation. I think after they recognized the composition and the situation, they took a suboptimal location. They got dove. Stryker didn't punish, and that's first point.
Kellex looks like he was distracted. Taimu was able to kill him. It doesn't really matter that Taimu falls right now. Everybody
Sick EMP, Taimo.
is hacked in the back. He died while getting
I don't know why he would have used that. Is he swapping?
his ultimate off, so EMP will seal the deal.
Yep.
And now Dallas Fuel going to take point A and move into their point B attack.
Okay. So that was exactly what the Dallas field needed. A quick
He is
point A
swapping.
take. Now they have
Swipping.
6.5
Swipping. He's
minutes
swipping. He's
almost
swapping to Widow.
to take B.
Makes sense.
And remember, Boston finished.
And the really people generally don't like Widowmaker Genji dive, but in terms of like a closing comp, I really like it. I really like Widowmaker Genji because you have two win conditions and they're complementary to one another. So a pick can give you an advantage, but then you have Valk Blade. And people underestimate Valk Blade all the time because Valkyrie plus Blade, the damage boost, like Nano Boost, yes, turns Dash Slash into a one-shot, but just regular Mercy Boost also turns Dash Slash into a one-shot, right? Because it's 170 plus 30%, which makes it 51, which is 231. Math, please. Yeah. 231 damage for Dash Slash with Valk compared to 255 for Nano. Am I getting those numbers right? 221. Math is hard. Math is hard indeed. 221. Thank you. 221. So yeah, it's Dash Slash is a kill on a squishy. So that's a huge closer. And then the Widowmaker can either get picks to open the field, or once you've actually gained control, she can very easily prevent contests just by body shots. You don't even need headshots. Just body shots reduces the time to kill from the rest of your team dramatically. A damage boosted, like this is the other thing, right? During the cleanup phase, damage boosted Widowmaker shot does 156. No. Yes. 156. So damage boosted Genji, damage boosted Widowmaker plus a Genji dash is a one shot. And this is also the same thing, the same kind of idea behind damage boosted Pharah plus Genji is that if you hit it direct, you call it the Genji dashes to confirm. Done. So I really like the Dallas Fuels comp here. I think it's very strong on Horizon where there's a lot of Widowmaker angles, and you've got Seagull playing Genji. You've already got the Valkyrie. So I think the play here is try and find an opening with Tymo playing slow till Seagull gets Blade, and then not sure how you would play around Trance in this situation, because it's going to be next to impossible to actually force Trance out without Blade.
Overtime, so Dallas is going to be happy finishing this one with really any time on the clock. See what they can
Valk comes out early.
do right off the bat.
They're going to use the Valk immediately, and so will Mistakes. Going to try to use the Riptire. Taimu will stop that, though.
Great shot from Time.
Seagull gets taken out by Mistakes. Why is it always Genji's dying to Junkrats?
Push going. They got Kamsu. Kalios a little bit low. Unko pops that Transcendence here. As Aim God comes in with his own zone ultimate. Kellick's in a lot of trouble. Oh, how in the world did he get out?
What? Oh, was Aim God in Trance? Oh.
Keep this push going.
Aim God did pretty well there.
Got Kamsu. Kalios a little bit low. Unko pops that Transcendence here. As Aim God comes in with his own zone ultimate. Kellick's in a lot of trouble. Oh, how in the world did he get out of that? The Transcendence saved him. Man, he must have been down to like 2 health there. And Boston will barely hold.
Probably would have just died there.
It's the kind of trance you want to see, though. Only
Yeah, shouldn't have picked up
using
Omega.
it if it's necessary. Goes for the risky resurrection, but manages to pull it off. And now Boston, they'll be feeling good. Still have a Valkyrie there. Mickey's going to be swapping over to the Brigitte. They see Striker on the Tracer again, so why not? Adjust your composition right now.
Yeah. Definitely go for it. Time won that Widowmaker too, and you know, with the Brigitte added to this, you really have a lot of front-loaded pressure, which kind of...
So they've swapped back to this. They swapped off the Genji, despite not... They didn't use Blade, did they? Did they swap with Blade?
Man, he must have been down to like 2 health there. And Boston will...
Aim God just used Trance. You have a free Blade. What? It is Horizon, I guess.
Barely hold.
It's the kind of trance you want to see, though. Only using it if it's necessary.
You still have the Mercy, so you can still turn it in. Like, you don't need Valk. Valk is doing a charge really quickly anyway. Faster, well, maybe not faster than Aim God's going to get Trance. That'd be too risky. You'd want to be going in early. But even using the damage boost, you could still turn it into a one-shot against Squishies, both Mistakes, Aim God, and Kellex if he pops the Valkyrie. There's no reason to swap Genji here. Interesting.
Goes for the risky resurrection, but manages to pull it off. And now Boston, they'll be feeling good. Still have a Valkyrie there. Mickey's going to be swapping over to the Brigitte. They see Striker on the Tracer again, so why not?
I would have done one push with Blade, especially because if Aim God had Trance, probably swap. But Aim God had used Trance. This was a free Blade. I don't know why they swapped the comps here.
Definitely go for it. Time won that Widowmaker too, and you know, with the Brigitte added to this, you really have a lot of front-loaded pressure, which kind of frees up the Widowmaker to get those shots.
They want to shut down Striker at all costs. It was their gameplay and win condition. Tymo's doing more than good enough of a job right now shutting down Striker on his own. They knew that Mercy had ult, and without a support ult for Dallas, he would be focused down and killed, so they swapped early in order to have a better chance to win. I think that's reading a bit too much into it. Kellex is very easily killable with a damage-boosted blade, even if he does take flight. Just one dash and a slash will take out a Valking Mercy. It's very dangerous for Kellex to do that, especially if anybody else, like OGE, jumps the Valking Mercy as well, as enough chip damage to prevent regen through the Harmony and the Self. So... yeah, when you have 5 minutes, doing one blade push isn't going to cost you that much, even in the worst case scenario. I agree.
And when time was on fire, like he seems like he is so far today.
There's the imprecise. He's looking for aim god. Wants him to peek.
I haven't seen it.
Not going to find that shot yet.
Oh, so close. Nearly finished aim got off.
That's an interesting spot.
Very close call.
I don't think I've seen this
Gamsu
spot
down.
for Widowmaker before. It's nice that that crack is exactly a head height.
Another rip tire. 2-0 so far with those tires. Self-destruct comes in. Dallas is going to wait it out. Unko in trouble, though. Mistakes gets him with the concussion mine. Dallas on the point, though. Kellex trying to be annoying. Keeping
Aim God charges those trances pretty fucking fast.
Well, that trance was not necessary.
I don't think so.
OGE just bails on the fight instantly, and they wait
It wasn't necessary, but they don't really need trance to stop anything.
for it to go down.
Yep, they layered that one a bit here, too. Now Mickey has a rally. If he can stay alive, doing lots of damage, giving his team a good amount of healing as well. Getting a little bit low. Needs to be careful here. Wow, he's got the rally off. They actually kept him alive. Dallas still making this push work. Mistakes down too. Mickey going wild, chasing Kellex away. Can't quite get him before he gets back in spawn, but that's enough for Dallas. Though they
Fight instantly.
here comes gets him with the concussion mine. Dallas on the point though.
How is Mickey playing Brig here?
Comes in. Dallas is going to wait it out. Unko in trouble though. Mistakes gets him with the concussion mine. Dallas on the point though. Kellex trying to be annoying, keeping Gamsu healed. Here comes Aim God with his own transcendence.
Well, that trance was not necessary.
I don't think so.
OGE just bails on the fight instantly, and they wait for it to go down.
Yep, they layered that one a bit here too. Now Mickey has a rally. If he can stay alive, doing lots of damage, giving his team a good amount of healing as well. Getting a little bit low, needs to be careful here. Wow.
This is what you're talking about, right? That first off, if you can keep Mickey in his armor, which he was out of armor, and but Brigitte is just so invincible against D.Va and Winston, right? The damage from D.Va and Winston is reduced by half, both of them. And then Mickey is consistently swapping between swinging to trigger the Inspire and shielding. And with the Mercy Pocket coming out from Harry Hook right now, Mickey is getting 76 healing per second, which should, yeah, it's enough to tank, as you just saw yourself. But then as soon as he gets into armor and pops rally, there's nothing either of those tanks are going to be doing against him.
He's got the rally off. They actually kept him alive. Dallas still making this push work. Mistakes down
And now
too.
he's going
Mickey
aggressive, that he has the 500 HP.
Can't quite get him before he gets back in
But yeah,
spawn,
you
but
definitely
that's
need
enough for
the
Dallas.
pocket of a
Though
second
they
support in
still
order
have
to
not
do
taken
shit like
any
that. You can't do it
control
solo.
meter yet. They have to deal with Gamsu. Finally doing that. They'll get a tick, but they need more. Dallas has control of the point. Can they finish it, though?
And they're going to try and zone him out. At least they have a self-destruct right now. Boston's going to be coming up empty. Kellex has to switch over to the Lucio.
Aim God comes in with another Transcendence. That tire finally found its mark. OGE going down. Mickey, the only one left on the point here. Dallas having to back away, and it doesn't look like they can keep him alive this time. So,
And that's more of what you would expect from a Brigitte, right? Without pocket and without support, she's still going to drop really quickly because she has no way for her to sustain herself.
though they still have not taken any control meter
Her
yet.
only form of
They
self-sustain
have to deal
comes
with
in from her
Gamsu.
Inspire.
Finally doing that. They'll get a tick, but they need more. Dallas has control of the point. Can they finish it, though?
And they're going to try and zone him out. At least they have a self-destruct right now. Boston's going to be coming up empty. Kellex has to switch over to the Lucio.
Aim God comes in with another Transcendence. That tire finally found its mark. OGE going down. Mickey, the only one left on the point here. Dallas having to back away, and it doesn't look like they can keep him alive this time. So they'll nearly take it, but Boston will hold. Still a great push for Dallas, so they only need that one last third of the control meter now.
Absolutely, and they forced Kellex over to the Lucio. Now Kellex has to reset his old timer. Meanwhile, Harry Hook coming back with the Valkyrie is going to feel great.
Aim God does. I would be interested to see Aim God's Transcendence charge rate. It seems extremely fast.
Should be a straightforward push here on the side of the Dallas Fuel, as long as they don't get say, one shot by a damage boosted Junkrat grenade and picked off early.
That's exactly what Boston is hoping is going to happen. Mistakes finally did get a good kill with that last Riptire here, and he's nearly got another one.
So are they going to go in? They are giving Boston a lot of time. They have all the information with that infra site. There it is.
All right, they're going in with the rally. Mickey pops that one to give out the armor. Taimu on the high ground here. Got to worry for Gamsu. Gamsu gets a little bit low. Maybe they can finish him off. He pops that Primal Rage, but he can't stay alive. Actually, the Primal Rage from OGE instead. Dallas comes in, but oh, they lose Mickey to the Riptire. Can Kelix get there? Oh, Kelix down. Taimu takes him out. Harry Hook gets the res onto Unko. Instead,
Are they just going to C9 or step off?
And they have a Transcendence, they have a self-destruct, so they're going to be able to push out this point eventually.
They nearly got it. Boston scrambling here, trying to just keep people on the point.
Well, at least they're
Stop
stagger
the
on
control
instead
meter
of
from
just
building.
getting C9'd.
Mistakes turn, now Kelix down.
Tymo.
Nearly got it.
That's it.
Yeah, wow, 2 minutes remaining for Dallas Fuel.
Nice.
They are ahead in the time bank game here on Lunar Colony.
Yeah, and they just have to take that one tick on point 8. They have a self
To the rip. It's a little bit low.
go in. A damage boosted Junkrat grenade and picked off
Mistakes.
site. There it is.
All right, they're going in. Mistakes.
Yeah, and they just have to take that
Long
one
fight.
tick on point
No,
8.
no real hard
2 minutes to do
engagements
it. They
either.
ran a pretty coordinated back cap push on that last attack.
I'm just interested in the sightlines from the back right there. You agree with Boston's comp here? I'm not sure if Junkrat's the best in that situation. There's a difference between the 1.22 patch and the 1.24, but I suppose it's just that 1.24 new Hanzo serves the same purpose way better. Okay. So he can threaten mid if he wants to, but he can also hard zone it. Don't know why you'd ever drop to low. So, yeah, option to open the angle seems good enough. This angle is so interesting to me, this sightline, because that's right at head height right there. Okay.
We're going to take a look at some of the Taimu highlights. It's been far too long since I was able to say that, Della.
No kidding, yeah. This
How you doing,
guy in the
Numbered?
past put out some pretty amazing highlight reels in different tournaments.
Siegel's
and
very good,
looks like
very
he's
smart
back
player.
again today. Certainly playing better than we've seen him play in a long time.
And Dallas Fuel going up 2-0 in the half.
Okay.
Would be a very unexpected result from today, but we did talk about the possible
Oh,
reasons
wait, is it
why
just a
they
draw?
could come back in this meta.
Wait, no, isn't
They're
there...
showing
I don't think they're going to win.
Okay,
Oh,
I was
you
like,
think
what?
We can win? Something just like it?
I'm pretty sure this map is a draw, but it's because Dallas
Hey,
Fuel
man,
can't
you got the
cap. Okay,
capability to win.
same comps,
We know
same
that's
comps.
true.
That's
Let's see if Boston Uprising's rotation is any different this time.
Yeah.
definitely true.
These guys, this group of players, has always had the capability to win a lot more match in the Overwatch League than they.
It feels like I'm investigating a crime scene by retracing steps and checking LOS. That's exactly what it feels like to analyze these games.
They have, and I'm glad we're seeing that come through so far today.
Yeah, the raw talent on the Dallas Fuel was never in question.
Absolutely. So, Boston Uprising back on the defense. Dallas Fuel
Hey, Danny.
on the attack with 2 minutes in the time bank, and all they need to do is take that first tick, and they will win the map.
Weirla, I have not seen it, no. I feel like I've answered that question 3 times now. I have not seen it, but I've heard the discussion and seen the discussion going on about Hanzo. Like, all of the teams have been discussing the numbers behind Hanzo's Dragon and how the wiki is actually fucking wrong. Not that Blizzard thinks that we need to know the actual numbers for things, because lol. I'll rant about that at a different time. But serious could just... Yeah, wiki's wrong. Dragon actually does somewhere in the range of 275 to 298 damage per second, which is a lot different than the wiki's number of 200.
Same attack. Going
So far, I think Neko and AimGod are both very good. I'm not sure if I would classify one over the other. Neko seems to be having the advantage in frags. AimGod seems to be always there and builds trance ridiculously fast.
with what worked before.
Yep.
And this means that Boston will be potentially ready to deal with it, even though they struggled in the last time. Taimu is not going around the same side. He's going under this time to hack the Mega. So they have varied up their tactic.
Why would you vary your tactic here? Why would Taimu go right? Right side is very weak here.
Even if they haven't varied up their team
And sending the entire team right is even weaker.
composition. However, they got to get out of there now. That being in there with the Junkrat is no fun.
I was gonna say, yeah, you don't wanna try to walk through that.
Is it a juke? Boston did rotate to the exact same location they did the first time. OGE is bubbling himself on the high ground because he has Discord and needs to survive.
Boston.
Dallas Fuel engaging while OGE is on the other side of the horseshoe.
To split Dallas up a little bit here, and they have done that. Back onto the point now.
That was
Taimu
close.
over the trap. Ooh, wow. Jumped over the trap. All right, meanwhile, Seagull on that Genji. They're playing it safe, just trying to build up some ult charge.
Okay, Taimu's finally going over to the left side. I like this better. Striker kind of on the greenhouse.
And
They
Boston,
really go in.
yeah, Boston's
Unco is playing...
On that Genji. They're playing...
Okay. I'll just use Widow. They have this mini hacked. That's why. They have this mini hacked. That makes way more sense. I don't even need to test. It's there. He's there because of the mini.
Playing it safe, just trying to build up some ult charge.
But the mini's not hacked? Or does it not show in the spectator
Boston's
camera?
playing this really well.
Yeah, they are.
So he's got to deal with Striker right now.
Aw, if he had landed those shurikens on the initial dash in, that would have been a one-shot.
Striker's going to be chased around the outside of the point. Calyx is there to heal him up.
He got back to the heels, but Seagull did chase him away at least. Mickey out of the mech, that's a problem, but OGE and Mickey get kills on Mickey.
You could, like, if you take a look at this dive compared to how the Boston Uprising pulled off their dive, this feels like somebody's... It's kind of like a gentleman who's walking down the road with a cane, and there's this, like, the click of his shoes and the tap of his cane, and then there's a drunk guy stumbling forward while spilling his beverage all over himself. They're still moving forward at the same rate of time, just one seems cleaner and much more organized than the other.
Over the trap. All right, meanwhile, Seagull on that Genji. They're playing it safe, just trying to build up some ult charge.
And Boston,
They really go in.
yeah, Boston's playing this really well.
Yeah, they are.
So that's unfortunate. Missed those left-click shurikens. Now
So
he
he's gotta
kind of
deal-
solo dives on Striker.
With Striker
And
now.
the rest of his team dove in the back line there. So if they were going to do something like this, then him, like Seagull, not trying to solo take out Striker. Like if it had worked, it would have worked. He would have got the reset. Then he would have dashed through the rest of the team, and this would have been cleaned house. But he didn't get the kill on Striker, which was honestly probably a long shot in the first place, unless that target was discorded. But Unco didn't put Discord on Striker. I'm not sure if he even could have. It would have been risky for him to do it in the first place.
Striker's gonna be
But then we see the rest of the team, and I'm not exactly sure where Taimo is in right now. Do we know where Taimo is?
And meanwhile,
I hear her on the right, teleported to the high ground, flanking the left. Where's Taimo going?
Boston
really go in.
Yeah, Boston's playing this really well.
Striker's looking at her.
Yeah, they are.
I feel like Unco could have gotten Discord on Striker.
So he's got to deal.
Is Discord on AimGod instead?
Charge.
Where's Discord?
They
Boston,
really go in.
yeah, Boston's playing this really well.
Yeah, they are.
Discord looks like it just got put on AimGod.
So he's got to deal with Striker right now. Striker's going to be chased around the outside of the point. Calyx is there to heal him up.
He got back to the heels,
Still don't know where Taimo is.
but Seagull did chase him away at least. Mickey out of the mech, that's a problem, but OGE and Mickey get kills. So Mickey killed the Riptire after he was knocked out of his mech. Crazy mistakes brought back to the fight, but OGE right there again. Now Seagull guarding that back line, And I think Dallas might just have this if they can finish the fight off.
They saw 5 members up right now. They've got to deal with Kellic,
Oh,
Valkyrie, and
Gamsu.
Gamsu. The hero striker snipes Harry Hook out of the Valk. Seagull
Out of his mech. Crazy. Mistakes brought back to the fight. But OGE right there again. Now Seagull guarding that back line. And I think Dallas might just have this if they can finish the fight off.
They saw 5 members up right now.
It was Mistakes. Gamsu got kill credit, but Mistakes chucked either a pipe or a conch mine into the halt.
And I think Dallas might just have this if they can finish the fight off.
They saw 5 members up
Halt, conch. Oof, that was a lot of damage.
right now. They've got to deal with Kellic,
Oh,
Valkyrie, and
Gamsu.
Gamsu.
And then the only target who doesn't get taken out is Harry Hook, but Striker finishes him off.
The hero
That was sick from Gamsu and Mistakes.
striker snipes Harry Hook out of the Valk. Seagull not quite there yet with a Dragon Blade. He's got to get something for their final push.
Man, that was as close as you could possibly come. It was basically Gamsu versus the world for a second.
And I think Tymo fucked this up earlier.
Meanwhile, Seagull.
So let's look at the dive here. The dive is triggered.
Build up some ult charge.
Yeah,
They
Boston
really go in.
Yeah, Boston's playing this really well.
Yeah, they are.
So he's got to deal with
Striker?
right now. Striker's going to be chased around the outside of the point. Kellic is there to heal him up.
He got back to the heels, but Seagull did.
Okay, so if we look, I don't know where Tymo is here. He went left. So we see Tymo, I pointed at my monitor. Do you see right here? I pointed at my monitor. Do you see right here? Right here. Tymo's going left.
Charge.
Yeah, Boston
They really go in.
He's
Yeah,
kind
Boston's
of... Do we see him?
playing this really well.
Is that blue blur him? Okay, so he is over here. So, and if we look at Tymo's ult charge, Tymo attacks, I believe it's
He's gotta
Aim
deal
God.
with Striker
Striker?
right now.
But Aim God gets pocketed by
Striker's
Kellex.
going to be chased around the outside of the point. Kellic
So they have Sombra, and Seagull initiates on Striker, and Tymo initiates on Aim God, whereas OGE and Mickey initiate on Gamsu and Kalios. So tanks engage at a disadvantage, Seagull engages at a disadvantage, Tymo engages at an advantage, but his advantage is canceled out by Kellex just healing him back up. And then things go really poorly. So this dive was pretty bad. And if we look at Tymo's... look at how much Unko is contributing to this fight here. So Unko is already higher charge than Tymo's EMP. And then watch the ult... At this point, 32% to Unko's 46%. The dive was initiated about 2 seconds ago. Watch the difference in ult charges between Tymo and Unko.
is there to heal him up.
He got back to the heels, but Seagull did chase him away at least. Mickey out of the mech, that's a problem, but OGE and Mickey get kills. So Mickey killed the Riptire after he was knocked out of his mech. Crazy. Mistakes brought back to the fight. But
So Unko got like 40% in the time that Tymo got.
kills. So Mickey killed the Riptire after he was knocked out of
I'll just
his mech.
cherry pick.
Crazy. Mistakes.
There, I'll cherry pick, right? So Tymo got like 6%. He contributed 6% of his ult charge to this dive, and Unko just got way more value here. So, yeah. I think that this dive was really poorly executed from the Dallas Fuel. They almost won it, but this should have been an open and shut case. And dive is different than positioning, and I know I wanted to focus mainly on positioning here, but you can use hack to initiate to make sure that an Orisa can't fortify, that a Junkrat can't conk you away. You could have discorded the target that Seagull was going to onto. There's just so many different things that you could have done differently. And compare this back. Let's look at Boston's initial dive here. Let's compare what we just saw to Boston's initial first point dive. Yes, right here. Compare what you just saw to this dive here.
Performances in Overwatch League, but traditionally in the longer history of Overwatch, when he
Look at this stage,
he is
and then look at the coordination.
it's amazing.
I feel like you can.
There's
after
the stage. Damage boosted.
watching
Winston
Tymo
coming
for a
in.
couple years, I feel like
Boom.
you can tell boy, a little bit of pressure coming in from Gamsu anyway. Oh, kills for Boston Uprising as well. Time has to back away. Aim got, oh!
Do you see how clean that was? Do you see how fast this was over? This is how you dive.
Watch when he is on, he is amazing.
I feel like you can, after watching Taimu for a couple
One
years,
1,000, two 1,000, three 1,000, four 1,000, five 1,000, six 1,000, seven 1,000, eight 1,000, nine 1,000, 10.
In on the action, but it was strike with the final blow. And what I was about to say is that I feel like you can tell Taimu's mood by how he's aiming. And it looked good, but it's a little bit low. Maybe. True.
That's definitely true.
These guys just
Opposition. However, they got to get out of there now. That being in there with a Junkrat is no fun.
I was gonna say, yeah, you don't wanna try to walk through that. Boston trying to split Dallas up a little bit here, and they have done that. Back up to the point now.
That was close.
Taimu over the trap. Ooh, wow. Jumped over the trap.
So you saw like the textbook perfect dive from Boston.
They're playing it safe, just trying to build up some.
And then you see this train wreck of an attempt
really go in.
Yeah,
that was
Boston's playing
Dallas.
this really well.
Yeah, they are.
So he's got to deal with Striker. Right now.
Two
Striker's
1v1s get
chased
forced.
around the outside
Tank
of the
line,
point.
two of the
Heal up.
three
Back to the heels.
engagements
The Seagulls did
throughout
chase
the
for
map,
away, at
micro
least.
engagements if you want to call them
Out of
that,
the mech, that's a
are
problem,
taken
but
by
OG,
Dallas
Mickey
Fuel
kills
at a
Mickey.
disadvantage.
Killed the Rip Tire after he was knocked out of his mech. Crazy. Mistakes brought back to the fight, but OG right there again. Now Seagull guarding that back line, and I think Dallas might just have this if they can finish the fight off.
And they saw 5 members up right now. They've got to deal with Kellic,
Oh,
Valkyrie, and
Gamsu.
Gamsu. The hero Striker snipes Harry Hook.
I think Mistakes was the one who should have gotten the credit for both of those kills.
Got to get something for their final push.
Man, that was as close as you can possibly come.
Interesting.
It was basically
So
Gamsu
Dallas still
versus
sucks
the
at
world
dive.
for a second there, and a late kill on OG
Noted.
really hurts. And now Mickey out of the mech. It's pretty disastrous for Dallas Fuel.
That
Oh
dagger
no.
is game-changing. He wasn't.
I've been
sure as
ignoring
to
you.
be Magnet.
Moon Blue
They are
TV.
going
Hey,
to
Color
get
Hex.
Reds off
What have I
the
been?
boat.
Tymo didn't even join the
Three
fight. He was hacking the
Hexes,
left side
same
mega.
time.
He did join the fight. Yes, he did. You can tell that based on how his ult charge. So you can tell that Tymo was attacking Aim God. That was his contribution to the fight. It was minimal, but it was a contribution.
That's the big thing, is getting him that mech pack for this final push. They really needed that. Seagull close to the blade. He's got it. He can win the game for Dallas right now with a good Dragon Blade.
Got to get it before
Over
Aim God
time,
gets
somebody's
Fran.
got to get on the point. All right, they're there. Unko in there with the Transcendence. Supercharger out, but it drops pretty quick. Gamsu getting down to about half health. Taimu down. Aim God get a crucial pick there. Oh, now the tire gets 2 mistakes. The hero for Boston right now, but Seagull coming in with the blade. He's got those supports.
Mistakes and Libero both clutched the fuck out of Horizon Lunar Colony in both of their respective games. Mistakes did a fantastic defense here. He's the only reason this Boston got a draw instead of a loss.
More. Seagull trying
Dallas Fuel did fuck up this attack pretty bad, but Mistakes was the reason it was a draw.
to win this game single-handedly here.
Trying to keep that overtime up, but the tanks are there, and so is a Junkrat.
Not going to be enough.
Good
And
stuff.
in the end,
Okay. 1 point now. This is also going to be a first for me because I don't think for some reason, I don't think Oasis is in the map pool. Because, well, no, it is. But, 1.22 patch on Oasis. Okay, this is the problem with helping so many different teams, is you have to remember the patch in which these strats were being run. So I have to remember, I'm not sure if any of the teams that I'm working with that are on the 1.22 patch have played Oasis in recent memory. Okay, regardless. Unpause VOD? No. No! Boston Uprising. Kelix and Aim God on the Mercy and the Zenyatta. And it's kind of amusing, considering how balanced supports are, it's just amusing for me to see Mercy Zenyatta still everywhere. Damage boost, damage modifier, I guess you could say, is just so powerful. Mistakes on the Widowmaker. No mirror. Okay. So we've got Gamsu Calio. So Widowmaker, Pharah dive. This is going to be really good if Boston can win the first fight. But trying to retake Oasis Gardens with Widow Pharah is going to be a pain in the ass. So if Boston Uprising doesn't win this first fight, this is going to go south for them real fucking fast. This is a composition. Okay, what do we say on this channel, right? One of the main quotes, defenders pick where, attackers a pick when. Boston needs map geography. Oh, sorry, map geometry or geography. Which one is it? Geometry? Like, Boston needs map geometry on their side in order to win. They need it. Whereas the Dallas Fuel, they are running their like the pharmacy here, but they're also running Brigida and the Death Ball here. So Dallas Fuel can basically pick, like, they are a little bit more resilient to damage, and they can pick where they're, like the aerial fight isn't going to be as dominated by this pharmacy. And if they can control Striker with Seagull, they control Mistakes with OGE. So I think Dallas Fuel's composition just straight up wins here. But yeah, so I think the composition wins. Dallas Fuel's composition itself is basically Season 10 meta, just with the Pharah instead of the Hanzo. It's fine. There's nothing really to write home about. Combo's just slightly different and a bit harder to pull off. But yeah, if Dallas Fuel wins this first point, I want to see Boston swap.
Now Striker will be playing the Pharah on the opposite side. Mistakes back onto that Widowmaker.
Yeah, Seagull getting onto the point early.
So he's like, Seagull's main job is to make sure that Striker can't take aerial space above OGE.
Going in, trying to get the air-to-air onto Striker. Ooh, getting aggressive there for a second. So Pharmacy's back, gets one air-to-air shot. Meanwhile, Mistakes trying to get him, and Striker going to finish him off. It was a team effort from Boston, but the DPS did the work. Now Dallas, 6v6 again, as Harry Hook brings Seagull back into the fight. And we'll see how...
And people give me shit for wasting bubbles.
AKM does on this Zarya. Not too charged right now, but enough that they're kind of pushing people back. Nice shield onto OGE as he was getting low, but Mistakes gets him with another shot, courtesy of the Widowmaker. And Dallas...
Can I just say that I'm following AKM's Zarya playstyle?
This has trouble pushing forward, and Mistakes kind of wrapping this one up right now.
Upside, Boston did take the point first, which is huge. That's basically off of the Pharah. Seagull dropped first, and that allowed Boston to take. And now they do have control, so they can control all of the angles and the sight lines, and it's going to be way, way, way more difficult for the Dallas Fuel to retake here. Sorry, I'm snapping my fingers. Okay.
Dallas allowed...
Well, I guess we'll have to add that to the auto mod list.
themselves to get separated as they tried to use their Pharah to attack the Widow, and that was just countered by Striker floating right in behind Seagull. Was a 3 versus 2, and Dallas didn't get any kills on the point. Now AKM, back to a AKM classic, the McCree.
What do I think about this McCree? Okay, so Seagull's off Pharah. Smart pick. Smart swap. Pharah is way easier to hold a Koth map than it is to retake with. It's very hard to force a Pharah out of space that she's already occupied without assistance. AKM going on to this McCree is a bit of an interesting choice. It's not the worst thing ever. They're not playing Taimo, and I am not sure if AKM has the Widow that could beat Mistakes. So AKM, like, this is the same composition they were running on Blizzard World Defense, though. Like, it's a very mediocre comp. It's almost like a generalist comp. It does a lot of things okay and nothing bad, but it doesn't really have strengths that you can play to or exploit. So AKM is going to be very difficult if he tries to duel Mistakes for a sightline. It's going to be very difficult to take out Striker on his own without the assist of Discord and Seagull. It doesn't have a huge amount of damage. He can be zoned out or defense matrixed by Kalios. There's just a lot of things this comp just feels clunky to me. So I want to learn, because Dallas Fuel does seem pretty committed to this comp, so I want to learn more about why they're doing it and what they think is so strong about it.
So they tried the triple tank, and, or rather tried the Zarya Farin, decided to go right back to the tried and true.
Back to the Diva McCree.
No one
So,
can hide
he
from
pushing
my
back in once again.
Mistakes flanking around, corralling, and this is where we, just like double sniper, Striker, so double sniper, this is 3-dimensional, so I'm going to do it with my hands. So you have your core right in the center, and then if you have double center, so this is top down, you have your snipers are going to be wanting to corral people by opening the sight lines on the left and the right side. But if one of your DPS is no longer a sniper and becomes a Pharah, you corral sight lines by moving one of them into the third dimension. So you have like your tank core, and then if you have this controlling like a frontline location or an area of the map, then you can have your Widowmaker or your Hanzo, whichever sniper you're moving, controlling a flank, whereas your Pharah can control the aerial space above, which is just as efficient of a sight line in terms of reducing the safe spaces for the opponents as would be a secondary flank on the side. It doesn't matter if that flank is vertical or on the opposite side of your tank core, it still does the same job of corralling the opponents into an area and making their Rhine less effective.
Uses that imprecise as soon as the engagement starts. Trying to get a flank around the side, though, so nobody really threatened by the Dallas Fuel, except for this barrage right now.
Yeah, you got to be careful here. OGE takes some damage. Striker letting him know that he's there.
Like, they can't push out. OGE can't push out here. Aim God dropping, though, that's pretty big. OG, like, if OGE even tries to push out of that door, it immediately, like, you see Striker's angle there. There is, if OG goes out of that door, there is no angle available to Striker. Or, sorry, there is no available angle that is not available to Striker.
Dallas, everybody in that little hallway, I think they're going to have to turn around. They're going to try to rush people through it. Striker takes a lot of damage from AKM early on, who also finishes off Aim God, too. So Dallas has the 65. Now they've got the rally, but Striker comes in.
How did a Pharah get there? What?
The engagement starts. Trying to get a flank around the side.
Are you fucking kidding me? What did Dallas expect?
Right now.
Yeah, you got to be careful here. OGE takes some damage. Striker letting him know that he's there. Dallas, everybody in that little hallway, I think they're going to have to turn around. They're going to try to rush people through it. Striker takes a lot of damage from AKM early on, who also finishes off Aim God, too. So Dallas has the 60.
AKM and Unco don't even look at him.
Now they've got the rally, but Striker comes in with the barrage. Oh, they should have known he was there.
What the fuck? Are we just in Bizarro land? What happened here?
AKM does get Kellex, though.
Harry Hook almost got him during the Valkyrie,
close, man.
chasing him off the map. Now there's only Gamsu left on the point right now, so the rally has
I
done its
legitimately
work.
don't
The
understand.
zoning provided by Harry Hook may be enough to finish the point. Aim God does have the Transcendence on his return, though. Heals Gamsu right back up to full.
They're going to delay long enough that Dallas doesn't even get to flip the point. Now OGE is down. Boston trying to win this fight. AKM gets Kellex, so they're without their mercy, and now he gets Striker.
AKM is popping the fuck off this map, except for the part where he ignored Striker, but popping off.
AKM single-handedly handles the pharmacy, and now Gamsu down as well. Kalios out of the back, and that was a close call, but Dallas finally flips it.
Yeah, some extra percent gain, though, from the Boston Uprising. Not that it's too consequential on Gardens, the most 99-99 of all control point maps.
Okay, how is the Dallas Fuel setting up for a defense here? This is... Mickey does this all the time. This is the part of Mickey's play that is the most fascinating, questionable, concerning, so many different words I could use to describe it. When he separates himself so much from OGE here. He does this a lot. And I don't know why. So OGE is holding, Seagull is scouting Heaven, AKM and Unco and Mercy. Okay, so they're holding this location. How does this help them deal with Pharmacy? does this help them deal with pharmacy?
Welcome to Oasis.
That's city center.
Your safety is my primary concern.
Welcome to Oasis.
Gardens. Despite showing me university, this is gardens.
Protect the innocent.
Okay, so Diva's positioned in heaven right there. What's going on in here? So if... Where's Striker? Striker's in this area?
Oh, yeah. Pretty much every time we see this point on Oasis, we see...
Okay. So Striker's over here. And he's using this angle. Still a pretty decent angle. You know, it's better than holding the high ground. The high ground... For McCree, if McCree is holding this high ground, which is what you would probably find in your competitive gameplay, he has nicer sight lines, but the Widowmaker is going to be outside of its fall off, and then the Pharah is going to be more easily able to peek shoot him. Whereas if the McCree is standing here, he's standing. Yeah. So a very vertical angle on the Pharah, but the Pharah does have to peek pretty far over that high ground in order to actually fire on him. So he can't do a lot, and it does expose him to danger. Okay. Unco's sightlines. That's still fine. He can open them, I guess? He can't really open on this door, which is interesting to me. So Unco is playing in a location that actually can't contribute onto Gamsu and Kalios during their approach. Does he stay in this location?
The 99 to 99%.
He rotates stairs. That's better. Stairs is great. Stairs has so many great angles. And Striker rotates left. Okay. Mistakes takes an angle
Clearing the area.
here.
3 ultimates up for Dallas Fuel. Mickey nearly having another rally here. 99 to 99%.
So remember what I talked about during the very first map? What? Okay. In the very first map, remember how I was talking about this horseshoe shape? So we have this core. Now, Kellex is attached to Striker in this location, and I assume Aim God is somewhere in here, but Mistakes is taking this right flank, Striker is taking this left flank, and then they've got this core going to be moving in. So they're creating this horseshoe shape, trying to corral the Dallas Fuel. OGE, of course, isn't going to be very useful. His shield itself only blocks out a very small amount of area. Mickey is on this left side. Actually, he might be able to grab Mistakes here. Maybe... Still wondering about how Mickey is playing this. Unco has a great rotation, giving him... He has the ability to kind of recon, as well as have great sightlines, great orb applications, and AKM has gone where? Where has AKM gone?
Every time we see this point on Oasis, we see the 99 to 99%. 3 ultimates up for Dallas Fuel. Mickey nearly having another rally here. Oh, that's a direct hit from Striker. Mistakes down though. Mickey somehow...
So when you have these sightlines set up, So Striker was right here. He has these sight lines around this pillar. Sorry, mistakes. And then Striker's right here. There's no place for AKM to hide. So this is like, again, with the fact that in this composition for the Dallas field, the AKM on the McCree has no ability to control the sight lines. So there was nowhere for him to go. Yes, he had his Reinhardt, but OGE was there, Mickey was there, and then AKM was there. And the way that Boston takes this in is, again, by controlling sightlines. They do a fantastic job of this here. They did less of a good job with it on Blizzard with the double sniper, but Striker takes this left side. It's not really a flank. Like, yes, it's flanking pressure in order to establish a different sightline. So with Striker in this location and mistakes in this location, and what is D.Va doing?
We see the 99 to 99%. 3 ultimates up for Dallas Fuel. Mickey near.
So Seagull he was on the high ground, drops to the low ground, doesn't do a good enough job of protecting AKM.
The rally here.
So Seagull was doing the right thing, it just didn't work out.
Oh, that's a direct hit from Striker. Mistakes down though. Mickey somehow got him, but then he.
I don't know if you saw this, but someone... Oh my god, it's this Dragon Strike thing again. Yes, I saw it. Thank you for pointing it out, but it's like the 9 millionth time this has been posted in chat. I don't know if you saw this, but someone posted the competitive Overwatch subreddit that Dragon Strike apparently does significantly more than 200 DPS. The numbers that I've heard are anywhere between 275 and 298. That's the numbers that various testers have come up with and told me about. I've heard about 4 different numbers, but all of the lowest that I've heard quoted at me is the lowest, okay? Wiki lists Dragon Strike as 200. The lowest I've heard come from actual testing is 275. The highest I've had quoted to me from testing is 298.
Falls to Gamsu, so Dallas in a little bit of trouble here. Will they hold their ults? Ooh, they're not going to hold the Earth Shatter, but OG not going to get anything out of that one at all. Mistakes.
Yeah, Dallas Fuel just got corralled and picked apart.
Gets a kill on the Harry Hook too, and that's a Reinhardt ultimate. I think
Is that really necessary?
They're not going to get it back.
Was that really necessary, Striker?
They are getting really close to finishing this round.
Yeah, Mickey dies at 95% of his rally. You would love to have that.
Hey, did anybody
right now
hear if there's a Reddit post about Dragon Strike?
Just not going to happen. And Unko gets his head taken off. There will be a resurrect from Harry Hook.
Yeah, OG swaps over to the Winston, which I think is a good decision at this point in the game.
Anybody heard about Dragon Strike DPS? Anybody know how much DPS Dragon Strike does? Really curious. Super curious about Dragon Strike DPS.
There's a rally from Dallas getting ready for this next fight with the...
Okay, Code OW says, no idea if you've seen this, but someone posted something about Hanzo's Dragon Strike and how it does massive more damage than the wiki says. No way!
The armor. Striker getting in position. He doesn't have the barrage this time, though. Go trying to pick him out of the air. Tough to do with the Zen. Oh, did I say
hey,
that?
look there.
Woo!
AKM!
As well. Drops down with the
oh, boy!
It's going to get blocked, though, by Kalios. He got the defensive.
That was a shot.
Doesn't matter, though. Dallas going to just steamroll Boston. And they're going to flip the point back at 99. So, like we said, Gardens. That's how it goes.
That's how it goes, but
fucking Dragon Strike.
In order to even push that through.
At least now everyone and their dog. Look at this shot on Calyx. Oh.
On the retreat
that was juicy.
AKM, once a famed McCree player early on in the days of Overwatch.
And no doubt. Ultimates for Boston, though, as they try to retake. They are at 99% right now. Dallas is going to have to play this one really safe if they want to be able to challenge with it.
I really like that Dallas swapped onto Widow and, or sorry, not Widow, Winston and D.Va, because this allows them, like, the only way that you're actually really able to control the sightlines and corral the opponent is if they don't have the ability to engage on any of your split groups, right? You have a core, which is hard to engage, but then you have the people who are creating those extra sightlines for you are either cannot be engaged or cannot be killed for whatever reason. Whether it's a Widowmaker playing beyond your engagement range or a Tracer who can recall or a Sombra who can translocate. For some reason, you can't force an engagement off of the exposed individual. So here with Winston and D.Va, they can, since they're not getting any value out of their shield anyway.
Their own ultimates. Got to build those and not die in the defense. Kalios a little bit low. Ooh, he gets demech, but he's got the self-destruct to get back again. It's back in the mech. And now Mickey pops that rally, going in onto Gamsu, pops that primal rage. Gamsu trying to knock Mickey off the edge.
I think Boston just straight up loses here. They're trying to retake. I said it at the very start of the map. Trying to retake with Widow Pharmacy is very difficult, especially now that Dallas swapped onto a comp that's way stronger at responding to the Boston's posturing.
On his allies before they re-engage. There goes Gamsu now. Seagull with a crucial kill for Dallas. 90% now for Dallas Fuel. It's going to be 99 again. Kellex gets Gamsu back up again. They protected him with that Transcendence. AKM, no kills.
Damn it, AKM. You were doing so well.
Oh, and Striker comes into the barrage too. Dallas trying to respond.
Nice jump, nerd.
He's trying to keep Gamsu out of the fight for as long as he possibly can. Single-handedly battling these two tanks. Had a bit of healing help with it. Ooh, Kellex on the run. Unco gets him.
Yo, Unco! How did you... Yo! Okay. I have come to the conclusion, out of watching so many different high-level Zenyatta players, I am convinced there is no one good answer for Zenyatta positioning or two good Zenyatta positioning. Like, you can't... Zenyatta's have so much surprise ability to show up on flanks and frags and exiting out of trance in weird locations. Zenyatta positioning is creative and has so many like subtleties and nuances to it. Hidan is one of the Zenyatta player for Kurosuna right now, and it was watching him play in scrims. I was like, what the fuck? At first, I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? This crazy French man with his Zenyatta flanks. And I don't know what it was with French Zenyatta players. Unco, fucking Hidan, just appear on flanks and murder people. I think in the same way that main tank has moved away from protect my team and let my team frag out, Zenyatta is going to very quickly and is quickly moving away, especially with Jonak leading the charge, in the same way that Miro revolutionized Winston play, Jonak revolutionized Zenyatta play. I think there's so much potential value from Zenyatta's going on these really aggressive, surprised, unpredictable flank locations like this. This is just fantastic stuff.
On his allies before they re-engage. There goes Gamsu now.
So yeah, like my current train of thought, that the current thing that's keeping me up at night is Zenyatta positioning post-trans. That's the current gears that I just sit there and kind of think about.
Seagull with a crucial kill for Dallas. 90% now for Dallas Fuel. It's going to be 99 again. Kellex gets Gamsu back up again. They protected him with that Transcendence. AKM, no kills with the Deadeye, but mistakes finishes him off. Oh, and Striker comes into the barrage too. Dallas trying to respond. Mickey just trying to keep Gamsu out of the fight for as long as he possibly can. Single-handedly battling these two tanks. Had a bit of healing help with it. Ooh, Kellex on the run. Unco gets him. It's a support battle. And Dallas is coming out on top. They might actually do this. They've got the point right now, too. They don't even need to flip it back. OG zoning out. Aim got Striker, can't get there. And that's one round taken for Dallas.
That was,
they are now one round
could have been better from Dallas, but was still well played.
They are very good at playing around Rally. Now, think about how many ultimates Mickey has had in this series so far. And they are on the cusp of a major upset. And Boston, they're in second place right now, but the pack is so tight in the playoff race that if Boston tanks, they still can lose out on playoffs, and especially if they're losing to...
Hello, streamer. I have come to inform you that there has been posted an extensive scientific study about the damage of Dragon Strike. Oh, I can't even say it. On the intellectual forum of Reddit. I thought you might be interested in this valuable new information. Have a nice day. Holy fuck, I love you, Rectoroni. That's hilarious. They show the Unco play later? I look forward to it.
Like the Dallas Fuel could easily be a disaster.
Yeah, I've heard you a lot. That game differential.
Yeah, so like I understand that it goes into damage tick rate and stuff. It's really good, honestly, because I had it scheduled. I have a 4 or 5 hour time block on Monday right now, scheduled to making a video about this because all of this testing wasn't public. I already know all of the damage tick rates and everything about it. I'm just glad it's public, and now that I don't have to be the one putting it public. So whoever did it, who is the author on it? Oh my god, I'm actually going to go look at it, aren't I? Who is the author on it? Long Jumping Can. I have no fucking idea who this is. Who are you? Cool, just some random. I know a lot of teams were testing it. I thought the first tick was 6. Wasn't the first tick 6? Anyway.
In a stage like this stage where every single map really
It's because I'm on Firefox. It's just that video players work better in Firefox compared to Chrome. Also, Chrome was crashing earlier.
matters. You cannot afford to give these series up if you're the Boston Uprising, but they just seem to look really lost still in the meta.
Firefox uses way less CPU. Or RAM, rather.
They can turn this map around. They can still turn the series around, too.
Yeah, trying for taking over the high ground. Unco picked out of the sky. Or Kellex.
I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you that Unco was the extra just that Dallas Fuel needed. I think they still don't have... Just take a shot caller like Elk and put them in the Dallas Fuel, and the team would be monstrous.
By Unco and AKM combining for that damage.
Yeah, Unco just really accurate on that Zenyatta. Cleaning up that flying target.
You don't know how to spell oomph? Really? It's not M's, it's O's. Plat Chad.
The chip damage that Unco had.
It's oomph. Thank you. Quasi Squirrel spelled it right. God. It's not oof. It's oomph. It's just a little bit of oomph.
Put in, or AKM had put in.
That's right.
Fucking Plat Chat doesn't know how to spell oomph.
Wow, 40% uptime on Inspire on that armor with Brigida on this map. That is good, and we keep saying it. Mickey so far has looked, well, I keep saying it anyway. Mickey looks like the best Brigida in the league at the moment. Kamsu down again, AKM.
I'm just on autopilot.
Seemed to look really lost.
Okay. Same comp. Same comp. Never mind.
In the meta. They're not out of it yet, though. They can still turn this one around. They can turn this map around. They can still turn the series around, too.
Yeah, trying for taking over.
Like, do you see this shot on Kellex? Like, Unco was literally flying through the air on the jump pad, who shot Kellex, who was also flying through the air with a projectile weapon. This is just such a sick shot. Like, Unco is literally right in the air in front of Unco. Air to air. Fucking call me Sidewinder.
Unco picked out of the sky, or Kellex rather, by Unco and AKM combining for that damage.
Yeah. Unco just really accurate on that Zenyatta. Cleaning up that flying
The
target.
flying Frenchman. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Hello and welcome to Circus Oasis. I present to you the first act, The Flying Frenchman. I make the mercy disappear.
Out of the sky, or Kellex rather, by Unco and AKM combining for that damage.
Oh my god.
Just really accurate on that Zenyatta.
Cleaning up the chip damage that Unco had put in, or AKM had put in.
It's a fucking magic show.
Wow, 40% uptime on Inspire on that armor with Brigida on this map. That is good, and we keep saying it. Mickey so far has looked, well, I keep saying it anyway. Mickey looks like the best Brigida in the league at the moment. Gamsu down again. AKM.
I think
gets
OG
the
is a
hammer.
superior main tank to Coco. Yeah.
And Dallas Fuel getting some early control percent building up. AKM, though, caught with an Aim God Orb after getting hit with a rocket, too. Harry Hook there for the res. OGE has to dash away from the fight as he was in a little bit of trouble. Mickey with a stun there to provide some cover for the escape.
Unko being back in has added some much-needed firepower to this back line. He's been a major contributor when it comes to the damage.
This opening fight was huge for Dallas. Not only did they get an entry pick, but they got an early cap and then won the team fight. So they're already at 36% before team fight win. That's huge.
And with as good as Taimu was doing, I'm sure a lot of people, myself included, were like, oh man, you're taking him out. He's on fire right now. But
AKM's,
AKM really
yeah.
stepping out and being that
Absolutely.
brawling DPS I really needed for a map like Oasis.
What about Harry Hook versus
You
Chips?
say Dallas Fuel.
I have not been impressed with Chips lately. I did some analysis. I've done some other Dallas stuff earlier, and how to say this with not making enemies? Chips is just, like, anytime I've seen Chips, he just hasn't impressed me. That's as simple as I'm going to say that one.
Has reacted better with comps and strategies in this series so far, and that's one of the biggest factors behind their win, and they are looking to end it right here.
They are wrecking this fight already. AKM gets Calyx with a Deadeye anyway. And now Striker a little bit delayed. He tried swapping over to the Brigida himself. Dallas Fuel with ultimates. 65% already. They're going to get the rally off, get everybody that extra armor.
What is the highest tier 6v6 Overwatch that could be viewed on the live patch right now? I'm glad you asked. Did you know that myself, personally, hi, my name is Jayne, nice to meet you. I'm hosting a $1,000 US prize pool, tier 3 tournament. So June 3rd and June 5th. June 3rd is the qualifier. June 5th is the tournament. We're hosting a tier 3 invitational. I'm putting up $1,000 of my own money in order to kind of showcase all of the up-and-coming teams that consist of players who have never made it to contenders before. So if you're looking for some high-level Overwatch, 6 teams have been invited and accepted. There will be 2 spots open for a qualifier on June 3rd. And you're all welcome to watch it or enter. So yeah, there's also the Beat Invitational. So jokes aside, Beat Invitational is happening on the 28th. Wait, isn't that tomorrow? What day is it today? Or does the Beat Invitational happen on Monday? Beat Invitational. So there's the Beat Invitational, and then there's my tournament. And my tournament's called the Tournament of Future Champions, because I liked that name. So there's the Beat Invitational, and then that, I think that's on the 28th, and then my tournament, June 3rd and June 5th. So there's actually some pretty cool tournaments coming up in the next week and a half or so.
You know what's hard to kill? McCree with like near 300-something health.
Holy cow, play the VOD? You are in the wrong channel, buddy.
Right?
350 HP.
Zen with armor and shields. Yeah, it gets tough.
It does get tough, Dallas, for Dallas. But if you can get this here, they're going to get their first win against someone who's not the Shanghai Dragons in 3 months. February 23rd was the last time Dallas won against a non-Dragons team 3 months ago today.
Dallas trying to...
So Boston completely swapped their comp to the same sort of composition as Dallas, except Dallas really, really likes the Diva, and Boston likes the Zarya. Both have their merits, but for a final fight, I think Diva probably would have been better. Although Kalios is already at 50%? What the hell? Kalios's Zarya is actually nuts. Oh no, he was already on it. Wait, what? Did he open with it?
Back in has added some much needed.
No, he didn't. There was already a fight.
He's been a major contributor when it comes to the damage.
I was paused so long I forgot what was happening in the VOD.
And with as good as Taimu was doing, I'm sure a lot of people, myself included, were like, oh man, you're taking him out. He's on
Okay,
fire
so Kalios
right now.
swapped in.
AKM really stepping out and being that brawling DPS I really needed for a map like Oasis.
And frankly, I mean, we say Dallas Fuel has reacted better with comps and strategies in this series so far, and that's...
Oh, there wasn't even... I just skipped over this because it wasn't really a fight. AKM and Seagull just take out 2.
one of the biggest factors behind their win, and they are looking to end it right here.
They are wrecking this fight already. AKM gets Calyx with a Deadeye anyway. And now Striker a little bit delayed. He tried swapping over to the Brigitte himself. Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, so this comp is fine. I thought that they had swapped to the Zarya at this point in time, but considering the swap had already happened,
With
it's fine.
ultimates, 65% already. They're going to get the rally off, get everybody...
Like, they don't really have a wombo, but right? You don't need a wombo. You can use it to take out two. You can always trade, like, force the trade with Transcendence if you have to. So
Armor. You know what's hard to kill? McCree with, like, near 300-something health, right?
350 HP.
Zen
McCree.
with armor and shields.
cheers,
yeah,
Pepe.
It gets tough.
It does get tough, Dallas, for Dallas. But if you can get this here, they're going to get their first win against someone who's not the Shanghai Dragons in 3 months.
That would be
February 23rd was the last time Dallas won against a non-Dragons team 3 months ago today.
Dallas trying to make a statement here. They can do it by winning this next fight. Earthshatter ready to go. It's the shield mind games with him and Gamsu. Oh, some stuns come in.
Did still get two.
Enough. Self-destruct use. OG gets a kill on the Striker with a charge. The battle begins. Dallas Fuel at 99%. Gamsu isolated. Taken down by AKM. Calyx scrambling. Can't get anybody healed. And that is just going to be it. Dallas Fuel. Only Kalios and Calyx to deal with. Now just Calyx. And there's no mercy for anybody on Boston, as Dallas will take the map and take the series. Doesn't matter.
I didn't. Let me see. Let me watch that again. I didn't see really anything to point out that I haven't covered previously in the VOD.
Near 300-something health, right?
350 HP.
Like, we're coming into the last fight with both support ultimates online. Dallas Fuel has both tank ultimates online. They just have a straight-up ultimate advantage in basically a mirror comp in Final Fight, and positional advantage.
Zen with armor and
Every advantage is in Dallas Fuel's favor, and they don't make a mistake that Boston can punish.
shields. Yeah, it gets tough.
It does get tough, Dallas, for Dallas. But if you can get this here, they're going to get their first win against someone who's not the Shanghai Dragons in 3 months.
That would be
February 23rd was the last time Dallas won against a non-Dragons team 3 months ago today.
Dallas trying to make a statement here. They can do it by winning this next fight. Earthshatter ready to go. It's the shield mind games with him and Gamsu. Oh!
I think the shield bash was attempted. I think Striker attempted the shield bash because he flies forward, doesn't he? Because he would have blocked that otherwise.
Have that fully...
What the...
Shatter ready to go. It's the shield mind games with him and Gamsu.
Yes, he attempted the shield bash. Too early, I think. I think he triggered the shield bash too early after having blocked the shatter, and he gets slammed by it.
Oh, some stuns come in. Was it enough? Self-destruct use. OG gets a kill on the Striker with a charge. The battle begins. Dallas Fuel at 99%. Gamsu isolated. Taken down by AKM. Calyx scram.
Yeah, so like every advantage in the book, then a two-man slam from OG. Game over, Boston. Thanks for playing. Kind of a low-key note to end on. Not a lot to chat about on this one, but hey.
Can't get anybody healed. And that is just going to be it. Dallas Fuel. Only Kalios and Calyx to deal with. Now just Calyx. And there's no mercy for anybody on Boston.
Well played.
And Dallas will take the map and take the series. Doesn't matter what happens in map number 4. Dallas Fuel has beaten the Boston Uprising.
What a big statement victory for them. Dallas Fuel.
Yep. Okay. So, welcome back to the desk. Tearing apart that map between the Dallas Fuel and the Boston Uprising. Now, the Dallas Fuel definitely looking stronger. It's really hard to tell exactly how much of this was thanks to Arrow, but Dallas Fuel, especially on areas of this map, such as, or series rather, such as the Streets phase of Blizzard World, showed creativity and play styles that I haven't previously seen from the Dallas Fuel, and really quite... I really thoroughly enjoyed watching the Streets phase of Blizzard World, and I think if anybody wants to look at some very interesting Overwatch, that is a map that could be analyzed and looked into at a much deeper level to see why everyone is doing what they're doing and how Boston could have broken that defense. So they managed to have the payload trickling back. Not only did they have a 3-minute defense on Streets phase, but Dallas Fuel actually managed to have the payload move backwards uninterrupted for 3 minutes on Blizzard World Streets phase. So is Boston playing worse than they have in the past? Yes, I think Mistakes is struggling and will continue to struggle to fill the hero pool that is now lacking with Dream Casper's departure. Striker wasn't looking as confident, especially on the Widowmaker, to the point where Taimo was making him look like a child. So Taimo and AKM definitely upped their game. A lot better performing in the DPS this time. Mickey's, I can see why Mickey's Brigida is kind of treated more as a DPS than a off-tank, or even, like, there's no one who considers Mickey a support. Brigida is already drawing a fine line between off-tank and support, but Mickey takes that line and moves it over towards the DPS end of things. And I think when he's doing that, it's mostly because the opponent is running Winston Diva. That's when he really goes ham. But he is very, very good Johnny on the spot in terms of canceling jumps of enemy Winstons, as well as using those knockbacks with his flail in order to, you know, get environmental kills, whether it's into the water or make space, and as well as using that stun of the shield bash, not just as a tool to burst people down, which is the reason I won Blizzard World in the first place, but as a tool to cancel ultimates and abilities. So Mickey's doing a fantastic job. Want to see more play of Mickey in Rein Zarya mirror matchups, but that didn't happen in this game. AKM was looking stronger. I think his Zarya could use some improvement, but honestly isn't that bad. Harry Hook, it's always hard to judge a Mercy or a Lucio's performance without a first-person perspective or comms, but didn't really do anything. Well, he made, like, the only time I really noticed Harry Hook is when he kind of ended up out of position. But he seemed to be working with Mickey pretty well, allowing him to be aggressive. And I didn't pay a lot of attention to him, I must admit. So I would have to spend a lot more time looking at Harry Hook to develop a more firm opinion of it. I think OGE is a great main tank. I think he struggles against teams that do a really good job of map control and sightlines where he himself can't control it on his own. So it feels like he doesn't quite know what to do when the sightlines have been removed from his team, whether or not he should kind of be in the middle of no man's land, retreat back to a corner, or hard engage. So I think OG has some work to do with how to play against Double Sniper as a main tank, but that is very easily taught, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Dallas Fuel is kind of already working at it based on the games against the Los Angeles Gladiators and this one against Boston. So, Dallas Fuel definitely looking like a newer team. You know, people have been mentioning, just for the casual conversation I've heard, that Boston lost because they played poorly. But I honestly, truly think that Dallas Fuel did deserve this win, and I hope this is the start of a new Dallas Fuel.